Today is Monday, November 22, 2004. This is a meeting of the Franklin County Board of Commissioners.
Because, and I think the article should have said why some of our shortfalls, sheriff's names is being worse. And I wanted to say, well, the reason being,
Okay, we're ready.
Didn't bring in $1 million that he said he was going to bring in. Pardon? Oh, I don't care. I'm going to tell him that to his face.
All righty.
Pat, I want to tell you again, I've discussed this with you before, how disappointed I am.
Pat, I want to congratulate you because that means that we don't have to work on Wednesday.
Thank you, ma'am.
And
thank
some
you,
people
sir.
have to cook turkeys.
You're not going to take issue with either of them, Pat. I am still disappointed, Pat.
You know,
God,
you keep
whenever
riding
it
that
will be a
fence, one of
month
these days you're going to
signing that
fall off. You better be careful what side you
See,
fall.
it's being recorded, so I'll tell him later.
Okay, I see.
They were here today for a public hearing regarding an increase in our property tax levy for 2005 pursuant to RCW 84.55.120. And we're here to take testimony for and against. Commissioner Morcom Miller are present, along with Mary Withers, clerk of the board, Pat Schultz, executive secretary, and Fred Bowen, and members in the audience. What are you looking at?
The 1%. Yeah. That's what's causing us in trouble.
And with that, guess I would open it up to the audience if you have any comment regarding the 1% increase. Hearing none for or against the 1% increase, I will close the public comments and ask the board if they have any comments.
No, my comments aren't credible, so I have none.
No, I have no comment.
Okay, then I would entertain a motion for approval or disapproval.
Move for approval.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Are these all originals here?
No, they're copies.
These are
Not the
copies.
original.
You-
Resolution 524.
No, that isn't. It's an ordinance.
No, it could be an or, and it will be a.
Well, you showed it as an ordinance.
No, I showed it as a.
Ordinance.
Ordinance/resolution number.
Right.
Well, we can't have both on there.
Okay, that's the way the form comes
Well,
from.
I don't care. We
Okay.
can't have both. We
Would
gotta
you
have
like-
one or
Would you
the
like me to
other.
line out? the
Yes,
ordinance?
you're gonna have to.
Yeah, I'm glad to do that. And that was going to be my question on whether that was permission. You said 524?
Yes.
So it's now a resolution?
What would be the difference of which way you went on this, whether it's an ordinance or resolution?
I honestly don't know the
Well,
answer to that.
An ordinance.
An ordinance is county law.
And this is a year-to-year thing.
You know, like if you set,
unfortunately.
like if you set fines for certain things or
It stands forever unless
But-
it's
changed.
repealed. Now, ordinances,
But how would that affect this particular thing, is what I'm
I
saying?
don't, well,
You'll have to do
I
this
don't
every
think
year,
it
won't
should.
you?
I don't think it should be an ordinance.
I don't understand why you'd have an ordinance for something like this, and I just,
According to Steve Marks, he recommended that be a resolution because it does change every year.
okay, that makes sense.
But
yeah.
your form had.
But the form comes this way from the Washington, or the Department of Revenue, so
Don't they
Maybe
mean
it's
for you to
because-
choose one?
You've answered my question, Pat. I think that was the only thing that,
So Resolution 524 will be for Franklin County, and Resolution 2004-525 will be for the Franklin County Road Department.
Okay, I didn't make a distinction between those two. You know, I didn't do
Do you
a
want
public.
to?
No, it's all right.
There's the road department on here.
Yeah, it's the small, this is
Just the,
current expense. The next one's the road department.
okay.
Neva, I don't know if this needs to be on the minutes or not, but I need your signature for authorization of canvassing board representatives for the auditor staff. Your signature, and then they will also obtain the Franklin County prosecutor's signature.
What are you asking?
Is this for the recount?
This is for the recount for today at 10 o'clock.
Oh, so Mr. B has to go there? Oh, good, we'll
According to
recess.
According to Diana, she said that she didn't indicate that he needed to be there till like 1 o'clock.
Why?
That's just what she said.
Okay. We'll take her word for it, and I'll be there.
I think that probably is, don't you suppose, for the question ballots
I think so.
in the provisional ballot?
Yeah.
Pardon? I think it should be a copy in the minutes, means it's,
Does it need a motion?
I move the approval.
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
And
Will
then
the
on
only
that,
for the provisional, the same as before.
and then on that same count, the delegation of authority for Frank to be there today also.
You want to move for approval?
I move approval of the delegation of authority, of county legislative authority to serve on the canvassing board for Mr. Frank H. Brock. The date and type of election is November 2nd, 2004, and it is a general election recount.
I'll second that very complete motion.
All in favor?
All right.
Aye. Oh, and the chairman's signature. That is so good after all.
I move for approval of the consent agenda.
I'll second the motion.
Is there only two of these 525s?
No, there should have been 3.
Or did you get one already?
We might have had one that were stuck together, maybe. Aye.
What?
On the consent agenda.
Did you second it, the consent agenda?
Yeah, I did second it.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. See,
Right here.
Frank, I disagree with this collection, LFO clerk. Because he's still going to have to collect that with the staff he has.
That's correct.
I mean, it's required by law. Is he just going to quit with these counter?
Oh. I doubt that.
Did we find another one?
See, I don't know what, the same with passports, you know, that is not a big a deal.
What's that, Nita?
Oh, he's reducing
17,000.
passports and 61 for collection.
Yeah.
Well, he's got to collect that stuff anyway.
You know this. These things get air locked. Or something.
Well, then we'll have to cut some more out of his budget. That's just being ornery. By statute, they got to do their job.
We'll go down to the very basics on that. coming in at 1:30, so you'll have a chance.
Who is,
Rich.
No,
Sheriff.
I'm talking about the clerk.
yeah.
Oh. He's not scheduled as far as I know.
I can call him and ask him.
It'd be a good idea to have him come in too.
Do we have any kind of a schedule as to who is coming in this afternoon?
I was not asked to invite anybody in except Sheriff Abel.
Did he request to come in?
No, she
Fred asked me to ask him to come in.
And did you see Killian's letter? What are you going to do about that one?
I got a suggestion.
What? Cut more? Uh-huh. That's my suggestion.
Well, I was looking at the budgets this morning, and Sheriff Lacy's revenues have gone down over $200,000 due to these cuts. So, we had $500,000 to basically deal with, which was the 3.5%. But after he did his deduction, we're back down $250,000.
Well, then maybe he needs to cut some more.
You need to think about taking over the jail.
So I thought it'd be an
Pardon me?
idea to have a chat and find out if it's legitimate reasons or something not.
How can we determine whether it's legitimate or not? I mean, his patrol area is shouldn't be as great as it was before because of annexation.
Well, he is, population-wise, he's not taking care of as many people as he was 10 years ago. And he has more people to do it with.
Don't throw things.
And Jenny hasn't turned into a budget either, and she's not in.
She said she wasn't going to, is what I heard.
She isn't going to? Why? She doesn't
Pardon?
want money for next year to run her office, or what?
I'm not sure what her reasons were, Sue.
Well, if you're going to hear things, you better get down to the nitty-gritty on them. Bring back information.
Let's see, we all sign this one, Pat, in one
We all
spot?
sign in one spot, Nita signs in two.
Pat, you've made about as poor showing, Pat, here.
You know, Mr. Brock, I need to tell you that I greatly appreciate your comments, and I will try very hard next time to see what
To
I
do
can do
better,
better.
to shape up your operation.
But I would have to agree with Sue that I did an excellent job. Thank you.
Well, it's going to be a difficult time in the old
Courthouse.
friction in the shack, huh?
Yeah, it's not going to be nice.
And that's too bad, Last time I heard we didn't print money here. We just tried to deal with what we have. We all need to kind of work together.
Now, is that an option that we can start printing?
We haven't
That
taken
might
that
become our
option.
other option, Pat.
Maybe that's the next thing the state will give us.
I understand they have tried that different places, not necessarily in government, but outside of the parameters of government.
Oh,
Morning.
Is your pile getting down?
Yes?
I see a whole bunch of tags hanging out there, though.
Oh, God, Pat.
Did you give yourself a half hour for today?
Yes, I am.
Keeper of the time clock, huh?
Well, I gave us 15 minutes for the public hearing and then 15 minutes for this, and I figured we'd be done in 2 minutes.
On the public hearing.
It looks like you guys are gonna be a while.
Boy, Pat has outdone herself this morning.
So, you're going to leave us, huh?
Well, I was gonna check with you,
It's probably for the canopy.
Must be one of
Canopy.
the architects.
We have a bid coming in this
Canopy?
morning on the,
Yeah.
Oh, for the canopy.
yeah.
That's right. Did we get any bids?
We have one, and we'll be getting one more. She said she wasn't quite done.
Well, is it going to be here on time?
Yes.
We don't have Word working today.
Pardon?
We don't have Word working on the computer today, so the recording is going to have to be, I'm typing into my Hotmail account.
Do we have a lot of trouble with Word lately?
No, I know they worked on the system last week, and so I think there was something that didn't get finished.
I'm ahead of you, Pat.
Well, did we ever get it straightened out for the website
Get
or
the shapes,
the
but we don't have something
network
to sign,
system
yeah.
or something that the auditor's office couldn't get her totals out on election night?
Is that back to you?
I don't know anything about that.
And then I got a call from Mike Killian too, that his stuff was down. Have either one of you heard about that?
Mm-mm.
Anybody call you, Frank?
No, on
The network, our network
No.
wasn't,
Uh-uh.
or internet or something wasn't working?
nobody called.
So, Zona had to fax the totals to the state Secretary of State's office. It was interesting about our dome being wrapped with that plastic.
Yeah.
The architects don't think that they can stain the wood, you know, like we kind of had hoped to. They're going to have to paint to preserve it.
The wood where?
The window sills and stuff. But it could be painted that color
Yeah.
if we chose.
Huh. Pretty interesting. Morning, Ray.
Ray?
You don't usually come in on Mondays, do you? Don't you usually come in on Wednesdays?
Yeah, by Wednesday, we usually have a good feel of what took place the previous weekend. But we have that.
Bid opening this morning. Yeah.
Oh, that's right, bid opening.
And no board meeting on Wednesday.
And no board meeting yet. Hope we get some decent bids. Is McCormick bidding? You know?
I don't know.
Sally McKenzie interview this morning, Pat, and get yourself a huge raise here.
Mr. Brock, I would not even think of doing that,
No, I
Doing
know.
what?
giving myself a big raise.
Remember Sally McKenzie?
Yeah. Well, Pat pulled one on us once, too. You
That
gotta
was
watch
for the
them every...
betterment of all, not just myself. That was for an escalator.
Right. Right.
Pat, that is
I need a
bad that
masseuse.
you've
My,
done.
my hand and my shoulders getting stiff now.
Mm-hmm. You wouldn't doubt it.
We can file a claim against Pat.
Carpal tunnel here this morning.
And everything else.
Nothing else. We have room, no time.
You have at least 6 minutes for me to ask you if you would like to attend the second annual elected leaders reception.
Yes, this is the one with the first month or the 30th of this month.
It will be Tuesday, November 30th from 4:30 to 6:30 at the Clover Island Inn. And it is put on by the Home Builders Association and the Tri-City Area Chamber of Commerce.
We all attended that last year.
November 30th, I'm going to be in Seattle, SeaTac. I'll try to get home, though.
I don't know if I'll go or not this year.
What hour is it again?
Does it have to
4:30 to
RSVP?
6:30.
For two. Pat.
Yes. It's $20 per person if paid by Wednesday, November 24th, or $30 after Wednesday.
I think we're gratuitous.
We're gratuitous on that.
Okay?
Yes.
2 for you.
I'll think so.
And I think I only made a copy of Frank's, but I think all of you were invited to the
Oh, yeah.
Pride Courts breakfast meeting with representatives of the 8th, 9th, and 16th District.
I would like to go to that.
Yeah, put me down for yes on that, Pat.
Okay. It'll be at breakfast, 8 o'clock in the morning on Thursday, December 16th.
In Pasco. Yeah, put me down.
Okay?
What day of the week is that? Thursday?
And last but not least,
I move for the warrants to be paid as listed for a total of $690,187.24.
I'll second the motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
and with that I have nothing else, and I thank you.
Thanks, Dan.
If it's fees for next year, I'd make it to disallow it.
Washington Finance Officers Association. Maybe.
Ray, do you know we have a budget here for bid opening in Mine City?
Yeah. The agenda, things will open there and go through this.
Well, why don't you come over here and we'll have a bid opening first, and then Jason will just review all it.
Okay, we'll finish up signing and then.
Okay, will you ladies get a moment? Would you mind passing the coffee this way, please?
Yeah, when we get a moment.
You think that'll happen anytime in the future?
Around noonish.
I get it.
Where are the bids? Oh, you have them, Mary?
Yeah, Jim, why don't you come on up to the table? Do you know Jim Taylor? He's with CKJT Architects. He's Brian's partner.
Okay. Hi, Jim.
Filling in for Brian today.
Okay.
Hello, Jim.
I wondered who.
Have a seat here.
I'm sure you all want more paperwork.
So that's what we need. We've been a little short of it this morning.
Thank you.
Anybody else like a bid tab?
one for a bid opening for the track facility canopy extension project. And Commissioner Brock, Corcoran, Miller are present, along with Mary Withers, clerk of the board, Fred Bowen, county administrator, Ray Rotari, track administrator, and various people in the audience. And with that, we'll start opening the bids.
First one is from Stefkin and Sons. Seafin. Sorry about that.
Okay, I have a bid bond for 5% of the amount. And I have acknowledgement of receipts of addendums 1, 2, and 3. And the basic bid is $220,000.
And the next one is from J.N. Jacobson and Son Incorporated.
All right, I have a bid bond for 5% of the amount. I have acknowledgements of receipts of addendums 1 and 2. Basic bid is $208,785.80.
I have a question, but I'll wait until afterwards.
This is from George A. Grant.
I have a bid bond in the amount of 5% of the bid. I have acknowledgements of addendums 1, 2, and 3. Basic bid, $219,950.
You know what? For Christmas, somebody better buy us a better very dull. The next one is from NERR Construction.
Is that
K-N-E-R-R. K-N-E-R-R.
All right, bid bond in the amount of 5%. Acknowledgements of addendums 1, 2, and 3. Basic bid, $199,400.
This one is from O'Brien Construction Company.
All right, we have the bid bond for 5%. And we have acknowledgements of addendums 1, 2, and 3. Basic bid is $237,607.
And the other bidder, I suppose, picked up a packet, didn't bid.
I think that's the case, yeah.
Okay. Now, my other question is, on the second bid, what does the third edition mean? I didn't acknowledge.
Third addendum was issuance of the instructions to bidders, which were left out of the bid documents.
Oh, okay. So it wasn't anything to do with the mountain?
No, it was nothing to do technically with any of it.
So with that, are you going to go over the bids with
Yeah,
the architect?
Yeah, Jim's gonna go in my office and go over them.
And then we will award them,
At
Didn't you say-
10:15.
but it's not here.
I got bid award on mine.
Oh, okay, yes, okay. Sorry, 10:15. Is that enough time?
Sure.
Jim?
So I'll come back at 45 minutes roughly.
Yeah, if you get done, I don't know if you need to be here for me to recommend it. You know, if you review them and they look good, just let me know, and just come to the door and I'll come out. And then if you wanna head back to your office, or you can come back at 10:45.
There might be some questions.
We'll see you in 45 minutes.
Okay, I've got some homework with me, so if I get done there.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you.
Thanks, everybody.
Thanks.
Yes, thanks for coming in. Back for bid.
Probably Vincent didn't bid because
Marine
of mowing.
Because of what?
About
Marine
mowing
side.
and working for traffic.
That was good news. Engineer's estimate was about 250,000.
I was going to
Yes.
ask if there was one, but
Yeah.
wow.
It was at the top of our sheet.
Oh, I didn't even.
And I didn't read that.
Yeah.
I purposely didn't read that.
It is up there.
Well, we'll continue the good news.
Oh, right.
Well, good.
Very good. Okay.
October was probably the best month we've ever had to track. And we remember back a few years ago and even a year ago, you didn't see a full page of events. We had 88 events, different event days during the month. 48,412 people came through the doors to those events.
That's great. You recall what, we have figures on last year's October and number of people?
Yes,
It'll
at the
be
end
on
of
the
next, as we turn the page.
Okay.
Last year, we had 65 events and 28,000 people.
Oh, that's tremendous difference. That's tremendous difference.
Yes, it is. And if you see through the rest of the other months of October, it was 69 events and 26,000 and 64 and 28. What we can say is that the sales efforts, and especially as it pertains to the AmeriSuites, was really what kicked us over.
Yeah, that's
This
terrific.
is we opened at AmeriSuites. We were able to open it in May. We didn't really know it until June. I wasn't really expecting them to be open till June, even as late as April. But this was an opportunity for our staff to get out and get some selling done. And the building itself projected well, and people were saying good things about it. And that's really about the only thing I can attribute the business to, is that was effectively implemented our plan. We've got to keep that momentum
I
going.
was going to ask you, with that one event that's going over to the Three Rivers
Right.
Convention, did they put a deposit down or anything?
They told us they wanted to use it, and we kept sending them the contract, and yeah, we'll do it, yeah, we'll do it, yeah, we'll do it, and then it was, no, we're going to go across the river.
They'll be back. Didn't they say they wanted to go back and forth or something? Or kind
That
of
was
thought?
what they told us, but originally they told us they were going to come, so.
Oh, yeah.
If we get them, we
Whatever.
get them, and if we don't, we won't. But if they, obviously they chose the facility that best fit their event, what their needs are at the time.
Yeah.
We'll try to get them back, I'll tell you that. Okay, in October 4 of 04, we took in $165,118 in cash, as opposed to $121 last year, giving us a total of $1.213 million is what we've taken in January to October. If you go right down to the bottom of the expense side, we were $120,000 in expenses, $120,671 as opposed to $170 last year, so we spent less money. You can, I'll point right to the 30,000 of that was insurance last year, that went specifically into the month. For a total of 1.288380. And our net income for the month was $44,446. And on top of that, $53,398 in receivables. We're not anticipating any problems with those receivables. For a total net income, if you add both together, is $97,845. So when you combine both what we have in cash plus what we sent out in billings, we're almost $100,000 in profit for the month.
Awfully good. Awfully good, Rick.
Yes, it is.
God, that's good.
As compared to last year with the net income and expenses
We were
or
negative.
receivables, we were down 2,000. So from where we would look at it, pretty much a break-even month, which is really what we want to do is
But
get them break even.
between January and October, we're down.
We're down $17,541. So that's
For the year.
For the year, from an operations standpoint.
But that includes some of the,
Mr. Fire,
what?
You need a quilt rack? I don't want one.
Why?
what do you have?
They told me to outbid you to get you up there, and then you didn't bid on top of it.
Oh, at the church thing?
Oh, you
Hi,
ended
Ryan.
up with it?
Yeah,
Somebody saw you coming.
Dennis. Well,
Take it out of his height.
I am.
What'd you end up getting?
He ended up getting that cabin. I said, I think you owe me a cabin trip now.
What'd you end up buying?
Quilt rack.
A quilt rack.
Yeah. Really nice.
Everybody needs a quilt rack.
Where was the cabin?
Up in the blues.
No, it's out of date.
Can.
Out of Dayton? Well, they're in the blues.
How much you
It
paid for
is.
that quilt rack?
110.
I'll ask my mom. She does that kind of stuff. She might be interested in it.
God, my stuff.
It's really nice.
It is beautiful. It's handmade and it's all inlaid.
Yeah.
Wood.
Where did you buy it?
At their church they
Yeah.
have.
Church auction?
Yeah.
Let me get the. It's not something you make a quilt with. It's
No.
something you hang a quilt on.
So once you
On
have
the
the quilt
wall.
done, you display them.
Oh.
Does it hang on the wall or is it self-standing?
No, it's just wide. It's
Okay,
got
yeah, I know what
bars.
you're talking about.
Not-
Yeah. Now you got to buy quilts or make quilts.
Oh, we have some.
Yeah, we've got some of Wilfred Southern.
It's, you know, I'll end up using it.
Yeah.
That I didn't really want. So he got me.
Who's the auctioneer?
Nobody.
it's
Oh, is it silent bid, huh?
We're going to go to notice of contractors.
Yeah, do you have,
That's it.
Okay.
Basically, this would get all the canal work done on the Glade North widening project so that we can bid the construction part of it any time of year.
okay.
So, just put a stipend in there.
I move approval of the notice to, sending out a notice to contractors that sealed bids are going to be received in our annex until 9:45 a.m. Monday on December 13th, and then will be opened and publicly read. And that is for CRP 555, which is the Glade North Road Canal modifications.
Is there a second?
There is a second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right.
I like this wild paper. Tim?
I always
friendly.
heard about item
I don't know
two.
the reason.
It's friendly.
You heard about, I want to explain it because it is, it's quite apparent that some deals were cut behind the scenes in my mind, because we went from something that was going to be based on some criteria to something that is not tied down at all and not totally understood. So I want to give you that information.
Well, you were
That if
outnumbered,
please.
for one thing, were you not?
Yeah. It's basically the urban people decide how the rural were going to split their money, in my mind. But I'll just give you the information. You do
Well,
it.
it
By
sounded
whose
like-
rules? I mean, who made that? Who decided that?
Well, Ross got with.
Was that the same darn thing?
Yeah, Ross got with the ports and transit and City of Kennewick, and apparently he got him to believe that he's been dumped on for so many years and needs to be taken care of. And that's what they've done.
Well,
That's what they did.
Rancid,
Now,
should I have been there at that meeting?
I didn't mark these up very well. I didn't mark these up. No, that Tim was there representing Frank.
Okay. Well, but you mean he went against us?
Yeah, let me mark
Well, yes, he did.
that.
He was against us all along.
Well,
Well,
wait till
you
I
need
talk
to
him.
go talk to those folks and tell them what you feel has happened.
Well, it
and
was
tell
a
them to
bad
be
county
aware.
issue,
Yeah,
And they had, the small cities came into that too.
but
I'll mark you up on it.
they don't know if they're not made aware of what's really going on. And I want you
Basically-
to go to war with them.
If you look at the top half of this sheet, right from here, this
Yeah.
is some supposed criteria that Ross came up that we were going to go by. But this stuff here, with the exception of what I circled there, the urban target, is superfluous. Can't say the word term BS.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Basically, you take
Get
the
that?
total pot, you take out the urban target, that's what the urbans get, and that's based upon this, which is status quo. This is the way it's been done in the past. That's where that number comes from. And then, when it's all said and done, the way we came up with 1486 was so that this would be 50-50.
He kind of twisted around a little bit.
Now, like I told them, I didn't have any problem with these distributions, but you need to pull out the amount that's attributable to the area. If you go down to status quo, this is how we're splitting urban. Urban's getting status quo. Look at what the money that's coming to rural is based upon. It's based upon 416 of it coming from Franklin County. Only 278. So basically, in my mind, the urbans got what they needed, which was status quo, and then they decided how our rural portion was going to be apportioned out. By stuff that was behind the scene. And to be honest with you, I don't know how they're going to administer this because the dollars aren't going to be this all the time. Mark says he's interpreting it as being a percentage. Well, we didn't talk about that. Nothing was decided there. It was, you're going to get status quo. Status quo is based upon this distribution.
Well, how much will we lose on this, Tim?
We are going to lose 147. We are going to lose about 316 is what we, or 416 is what we normally get. So that's 70,000
We'll lose about
a
7.
year.
Yes, on this.
But don't we have the chairman?
Then it all
Wouldn't
goes
that be
down.
the chairman's fault or the president of the regional council?
Well, you're certainly going to have your opportunity to ask questions. I'm just giving you the information on what was decided. I can't take it any further. I've done as much.
Mark said there would.
Statement is,
Mark said there wouldn't be any change.
if you go back to option 5, yeah, we lose money, but it's probably the fairest way to do it. And it gives back these minimums on the status quo. In other words, we would get our 302, they would get their 223, and then the balance is distributed based upon population. I don't like that. I'd rather have it road miles,
Yeah.
but it's better than what we've come up with. And
What you're saying
That's all
is just
I
kind
can
of reach in and grab the figures out of the sky.
it was something was greased behind the skids. That's all I can say. I don't know how
And we
anybody
don't
would do
have
it
any
otherwise.
other alternative by going to the state? Can we go to the state?
State has determined that it's up to the MPOs to decide on it.
Well, then, can't we at
Well,
least
then-
write a letter of...
Our MPOs, this MPOs were outnumbered. How did
If you want me to
Walla Walla
write a
County-
letter for you guys to sign to
How
go to
did Walla
whoever and
Walla-
make it a matter of record, because my understanding, they don't want it to go to TAC and PAC, which I think is a mistake.
But how did Walla Walla come out? Aren't they in
Well,
our...
all I ever asked for the whole thing is what Walla Walla got, and that's status quo. They get to deal with it the same way they've always done it. That's my point.
Aren't they in our MPO?
Yes, they are, and they had to go. We aren't being treated the same way as Walla Walla County, no, because their status quo, their status quo, which is here,
I didn't see that.
their minimum is like 400 and something, and they're getting all that. So
Okay, now to answer a question, when this was talked about across the table from me by a gentleman from the city of Kennewick, I said, well, it should be road miles, and he said he did everything he could do to protect Franklin County. He was outvoted. But I said,
yes, he did.
and
The Kennewick guy was trying to do stuff for us, yeah.
And,
Unfortunately, he.
But they said that they were questioning me,
Was that
my
10 million?
statement. No, it was Bubbles.
Bob Olson was actually trying to do stuff for us, but and I don't think he totally understood what.
But I said, well, Franklin County had more county roads than Denton County.
Right.
Is that not a true
That's
statement?
a true statement.
Okay, because I was challenged on that statement, and I said, well,
Nope, that's a true statement.
because I said, you got a lot of wheat.
They have more population in the rural area.
I know,
And that's
but,
what he was standing behind.
but
so
I
it
said
should
it
be
should be
50-50.
based on road miles.
In the rural area, it typically is, and that's what it has been in the past.
Well, we have all this block.
Well, yes,
Block roads out of the smaller farms.
write a letter, a strong letter, and I'd like to sign it. I'm
Yeah.
assuming the rest of the board too.
Mm-hmm,
Yeah.
most definitely.
And Frank and I was kind of surprised by this Friday.
Well, I called Mark and said I was going to tell you, because well, in my mind, the urban portion where they're just pulling out that was not discussed in detail, so as far as I'm concerned. And here's the kicker, that dollar amount's what the urban area is, my understanding is what they're going to get every time, because there's no percentage, regardless if the federal money goes up, urban area is tied to that, and that's my understanding.
Your biggest complaint is that there wasn't an established criteria that you could base anything on.
There was.
Ross came in and said he wanted to do everything by criteria and make it simple and all this other stuff, and then this is what got about it.
So they didn't use anything.
There's no criteria.
This is what you had visited with us a couple times
Yes.
before the
I told you it was going the wrong way, and
Yeah.
I was trying to turn around, I wasn't able to do it.
Is it critical to have the letter signed on that Sunday?
So. No. We have the park budget here. Do we have time, or you guys need to move in?
Let's see. We are. Ryan, do you have a lot? Very brief. Why don't we let Ryan come in
Okay.
here, and then he can be on his way because I know he's got lots of work to do.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Ryan?
I wanted to hand you out an older letter here from
Thank you.
basically Darren Campbell and regarding the safety committee. Just wanted to make you aware that there hasn't been a safety committee meeting for about 2 years now, which is a concern, which basically means we're out of compliance under the law. We're generally obligated to meet once a month and convene and discuss issues, and that's obviously hasn't been happening. And So not only are we out of compliance with the law, but then we're out of compliance with our insurance carrier because of that. So it is definitely something we need to get going again. And of course, part of that process is safety committee members do only serve one-year terms, but they can serve as many terms as they would like. So basically, since we haven't met over the last couple of years, all those individuals who were elected to the committee, their terms have technically expired. So to get the committee up and going again, we would need to have new members elected.
You'd have to send out a letter from here to each department.
Exactly. And so my proposal to you was I can draft up a letter to you indicating who needs to be elected, how the process works under the law, and then that could be distributed accordingly, and we could get a committee reestablished.
You volunteered to draft a letter. Right?
Yes.
You know that you'll get acceptance here.
Yes, all right, I understand. And that's not a problem. And the only other thing I kind of wanted to bring up in regards to that is, as we go through this process, I'm going to get the letter going and get this out to you very soon here. If there are any other individuals that you feel maybe should be on the committee, then please give me input through whatever means. I think one individual, we should have a member coming from TRAC. A lot of our incident reports and claims come out of TRAC, and so I think that would be a good idea.
Okay.
We'll make that happen.
Okay. So that's the status of that. You can expect a letter in about a week's
I
time.
think in looking at this list, it looks like these people are the ones, other than, you know, I don't know about corrections and, you know, the prosecutor, if Debbie Ford would be the one to go. I mean,
Yes.
you'll be there
I will
sharing
be.
it.
Yes,
more.
I will.
At least that's the way it was in the past.
Correct.
I used to be a member of that, but I gave it up to Fred.
I was out of the room.
And what we're trying to do,
The safety committee meeting.
we're out of compliance. We haven't met in 2 years. We should be meeting every month under the law and for our insurance carrier. And so we're trying to get this reorganized again.
And, you know, so that would be up to those departments.
Right.
I know that Ron Horn certainly should be there, and so should John Gessel. But outside of that, you know, I'm...
And basically, in terms of what we would need from you, and I'll detail it in the letter, but one representative from your board. You also suggest one representative from elected officials, and then one representative from employed department heads. That's the input we need from you in terms of selection. And then the employees will have the option to elect actually 4 different individuals from the courthouse, sheriff's department, public works, and assessors.
Oh, so that's why these other
Yes,
names are
and
in
so I'll
there.
detail that in the letter so you understand what your role is and what the employee's role will be in terms of electing parties.
In other words, we can't delegate one of us to our administrator, Fred?
No, I believe you can do that.
Okay, all right.
So if you want to continue with that practice, no problem there. So,
How come you're so red?
I just got through rubbing my face.
Oh, I was going to say, are you having...
It's confidence that we have.
He really doesn't want to go to that meeting.
right. I
He has
understand.
more knowledge in safety than just about anybody here, and I feel that he needs to be there
Sure, I understand that. So
forever.
forever, right. So that's the status on that.
Okay.
And the only other topic would be, I know we've, over the last month, looked at public contracts for representative of indigent defense, so forth. And I didn't tell you that we would try and obtain caseload numbers for defense counsel so we could get an evaluation as to what they're handling and so forth. Pat Austin, court administrator, is still trying to compile all that, and so once she has those numbers, be giving those to you.
Okay.
Thanks, Ryan.
You know, in past years, we looked at that, when we were negotiating contracts, and they had been about 75% of what was in the contract, and,
Right.
so under,
Right.
about, so they're getting paid 100% for 75% of the
But
work.
we need to have you explain that to us at the time, Ryan.
Yes.
Because what we don't understand is the length of the period when they come in on these and how they're counted.
Right.
Yeah,
Right.
see, it's, and you probably on a thin line for advising us because of the separation of defense
Right.
counsel and prosecutor's office. But what we don't understand is the weight of the different cases,
Right.
and what constitute a case and all that.
Right, I understand.
Every year.
Right, and I know different funding is attached to more serious cases.
that's correct.
So,
Okay.
thank you.
Thank you very much.
That's right.
And I hear your wife is... Okay.
Before we start with Jim, can we get Jim to recommend award that bid?
Yeah,
so
it's at
Jim can get
10:15. Sorry, Jim.
This should just take a minute.
Okay.
Sometimes you hit the timing right, and this was actually the time to open
Oh,
bid.
good,
So
good.
that's there's the bids in great shape for $199,400.
Wow, that's good news for us.
Including sales tax and
Including sales tax.
and recommend award.
And we have knowledge of, I don't have that before, but we have knowledge of the bidder here, Seacon and Sons. Excuse me.
No, it's KNER.
NER Construction.
What's NER?
Yeah.
Was that how you say that?
Yeah, do we have knowledge of those folks?
They've been around for a long time. I think our office has worked with them. I haven't personally. But they're not a new kid on the block by any means.
Okay.
Oh, that's good news.
Only thing to keep in mind is we set a tight construction schedule so that the track wouldn't be torn up any longer than necessary. There might be materials delivery problem with the Windstream storefront system. That's a possibility.
What are we looking at construction schedule on this thing?
End of January, as I recall, I think we're supposed
We
to
give them 2 months.
To start or end?
end.
End.
Wow.
Okay,
Good.
I move we award the bid on the track facility canopy extension to NER Construction Company of Hermiston, Oregon, in a total amount of $199,400, including tax.
I'll second the motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion carried.
Yeah, this is good news.
Yeah, very good news. I purposely didn't put the engineer's estimate down or the architect's. I don't know why I thought maybe you'd change the figures once we opened them, but
Yeah, we've been going the other way on these so much. It's nice to be going.
Yeah, for us too. It is a nice little period of time where there's not a whole lot to bid on.
Well, it is good, and even though it doesn't sound like a lot of money, it's a lot of money to us.
Yeah.
And we're real pleased. We've had good news today. I like to hear that.
yes.
Continue.
Well, thank you for your
Thank you.
time.
Make a copy of that.
Okay. No rain on your parade.
Pardon?
No rain on your parade.
No, here.
Okay, then we have a
Yeah, you can
recess,
give that
Madam
stuff
Chair,
to
before we start.
Well, poor Tim.
No, you can go ahead.
How long are you going to be here, Tim?
Until, then, as long as you want me to.
Let's recess about 5
Okay,
minutes, shall we?
all right.
Oh.
Oh, my goodness. But those potatoes were good yesterday, weren't they?
Yes, they were.
And
Yeah, that worked out.
that was a kind of a nice.
Feeling a little warm?
Are you warm, Frank?
No, we just being on.
Oh.
I can knock it up and I'm not. Last week when I did it, I got it hot, so.
Okay.
1 degree.
How come we can get by with no office and operating supplies? Is that
We have enough left over, and if we don't open,
okay?
if we don't open the restrooms, there isn't any need for any.
Okay.
We have some supplies left over. In fact, we'll probably have some left over when it's all said and done, that we'll have to do something like that.
Okay.
The salary up there is based on the 23,520. I put it for 10 months. There may be, in talking to the court, maybe some, I don't know exactly what they're going to require of us when we turn it back. So I gave an extra month there in case there's stuff that we need to get accomplished. Because I think it's through September. I think it's when we sent the letter.
What was your bottom line on this thing, Tim?
53 something. I didn't bring that with me. It's whatever number you gave me, and basically I adjusted the repairs and maintenance to make it come out to whatever it was.
In other words, this balances with what we started with here.
Well, we started with 55, and then you took that 3.5% away, and whatever that was.
So
It's 52.9.
Okay.
Is what I remember. I don't know if these numbers under personal benefits are accurate. I kind of prorated them based upon what the salary was, but they're close. The operation and rental and leases, that's for all the equipment. There is a rebate in there. That's why it's so low. We've been charging for a piece of equipment that Park hasn't had for a couple of years. So that's where some savings is at. The 8,000, I come at that. Basically, that's for electricity, and we're getting rid of the porta potties. They're at the soccer field and the one down at Road 54. And the big savings is in garbage. We still have garbage collection, but not to the level because we're not going to have the groups in there because the gates won't open.
Now, I come back to one item. Is that porta potty on Road 44?
48?
Yeah, 48. Yeah.
The soccer field?
Yeah.
It's going away.
It's going to be closed.
Well, the soccer field's not going to be closed,
The
so we
soccer
can't
field's
afford
going
it.
to be there.
Oh, Mr.
And
Shingleshook is going to be after you again.
I don't care.
Of course, he's more pleasant now, isn't he? That he doesn't.
He doesn't drink like he used to, so he is more pleasant.
what will be our maintenance program on that field?
We'll mow the grass and make sure it gets watered.
Because we can't turn that back. I mean, that's
Well, I did some research on it. You can close it. The county bought it from the school district, and
Shouldn't we give it back to the school district?
Well, and that's what I would recommend, is to start having those discussions, because they use it for
Well, they
for
used
the-
it for the,
they're using it for the middle schools, and they use it as a
Why don't
practice
we-
field.
Yes, but why don't we?
You should
do
start
that
those
option?
discussions.
The only thing you'll be left with that you can't get rid of is that piece out by Road 100, that link that where the bike path comes up from Chihuahua Park to Fort Street. We purchased that with IAC funds. It has a deed restriction on it. It has to be a park. Depending on if the city takes it over, you can probably transfer it to them. But
We're not doing anything with that now, as far
you have to mow it, water it.
as, how big a section is that?
That's a little under an acre.
Yeah.
but it's the whole length
Right.
coming into that, up to Court Street from the.
But that would be the only thing you have left if we negotiate that out. So after we turn everything back, I talked to Larry. He's willing to work for the lesser money and stay in the house. So the big question is, if he stays in the house while I'm paying rent, or he just want to watch it, or
We can't hardly do that in bookkeeping. Tim will, on the audit,
Isn't that what
we
we
can
kind
just do the bookkeeping to make it balance out.
like give him a rent subsidy for whatever it is that we charge him.
Just, yeah.
The revenue side will go up to match it. So.
Yeah, just so it
Yeah,
balances out.
yeah.
It's just a
We ran
bookkeeping
into
procedure on
problems
the
with
thing,
that
yeah.
one.
So you want us to charge him what we've been charging him, or do you want to? It doesn't really matter if it's a wash, other than what he pays in taxes.
What's your recommendation?
Well, if he's
Well, I
working
think it'd
for
be
less,
difficult
we
to-
need to charge him
to-
less.
Yeah,
If he said he would work for less,
He is working for less.
then we need to charge him.
So what do you want to charge
For
him?
his house. I don't know
400
what.
bucks?
Yeah.
That's half. That's a little under half.
I think we should just charge him what we can get away with, because he's really given up a lot. I mean, this
Yes, he
kid
has.
is dedicated.
And if the city of Pasco takes that over, they've already stated that they wouldn't keep him. Is
So-
that right?
They stated that they would go through a hiring process, and he's welcome to apply. That's the only guarantee they gave.
Well, what are they going to do about the house? Let it go?
My understanding is they're not real hip in having employees live in their houses.
They'd rather have houses fall down, huh?
It's protecting the park.
Right.
It's not.
That's
I mean,
that's part of it. You know, when I talked to him, I said we really would like to have somebody in the house just from a security standpoint. That would be one of the things that.
I can't believe
I
Gary's going to let that happen.
I just
I mean,
don't see how
it's
they
right
can
in
do
his
that.
The other thing
neighborhood.
we discussed is that, you know, with us doing this to you, I don't really want to go through a hiring process midway through here, but I couldn't blame you if you left. What about some kind of a contract? He was resistant at first, but he's
Who
willing to do
was?
it now.
You mean
Larry?
Larry?
Because we get halfway into it and then he leaves because he takes a better job, which
Yeah, which
Quite
he
possible.
should if
Well,
he
he's
can.
got to look after himself.
Yeah.
He really has to.
It's too bad. If we'd have known, we could have just not hired anyone to put in there and see what
But
happened.
that was talked about a little bit.
Yeah.
You know, Tim, originally you were talking about having your assistant park caretaker take it over.
yes.
What's changed there?
She hasn't come in and talked to me yet. Larry has. She's been off on vacation. She just flying out about this. I haven't had a chance to talk to her.
Who's that?
All I've talked to is Larry, and he says he's definitely interested, and he's willing to work at a lesser salary. He's already in the house.
Well, I don't have a problem with it. It's just that we were talking about one thing, and now we're talking about something else.
Right. Either way, I know
that's just the way
Lisa
it's
would
set
do
up.
it too, but you got to pick one. And I haven't made a decision yet.
Just ask.
This doesn't change our figures.
Larry's already in the house.
No, I was just asking.
Larry's already in the house. Is Lisa his assistant?
Part-time.
So
And she's part-time.
you don't have a problem in the house, and we'll lower the rent down. But we'll also show it as revenue, so it's kind of it's not going to affect your bottom line. Your bottom line will go up, but it's not going to affect your
Well,
deficit.
if just as consideration, to make sure he stays until the end of our contract, we might lower the rate all the way.
$100?
I would say if that would make it, really.
That would make it
We just
more
have enough to
One
attractive.
please
thing,
remember we had that problem before, that we were folding it all into something and giving him his rent, and then we had to straighten it out. So we got to have
Okay.
something
So a
there.
token amount.
Okay.
Well, let's talk about something else. Let's say we get to the end. Well, never mind, because it goes back to the court that time, so this doesn't matter.
When it comes,
The other area that we can have some savings, down at the bottom where I get 2,000, that's me basically. If you had, I don't want to do this to you, Fred, but if you had somebody that is working off a current expense budget that would want to administer this with the core and everything else and park board, if we continue it, then that would go away.
no, there's not. What about the park board now?
You don't want to do that. No, because you know about what's going on with the core and the park board and all that sort of thing. So, I mean, I could just start.
But that's a reimbursement for my salary for any time that I spend on doing this.
What about the park board now? What are we doing here?
I don't know. That's my next question. Do you
Well,
want
if
to
they,
continue?
I read in the paper they definitely did not want to go out for levy, huh? I didn't
Well-
get that from the meetings, but maybe they were
One-
just
one
being
person
rather
just said that.
quiet.
I
Well, I
believe
think Larry
that
reported
nobody
that.
has the drive and the
And probably the
energy
knowledge of what it
and the
all takes.
knowledge. I mean, if they had the knowledge, they wouldn't think they had the energy or drive anyway.
Yeah,
but-
it's, sometimes
The only one
ignorance
I
is
can ask
bliss.
about is Valerie and.
And she did email me on some ideas that I haven't had a chance to look at, but
Because she's a go-getter, boy.
you would have to
And I don't think Pasco's
do
going to
some
have
coordination.
I don't think they're going to have any bond issues.
I think everybody's kind of, because even those people that said they would come forward and help us, I haven't see them
Haven't
come
heard a word
forward.
from.
I think
Did
they're
we-
kind of waiting to see what the
Did
city's
we really
doing.
go back to them and say, hey, we're interested? I mean.
Well, I know Larry has, because I told him, I said, here's where we're
Yeah.
at. Here's the shortfall. Go talk to him.
Darn.
But, you know, if we would put that 0.3% on the ballot, some of that money could be used for this.
If we put it on the ballot, Eva, and we pass it, it's in the city, and we need to get the city to take over the responsibility, is my feeling. I hate to see
I would
it.
suggest, and just throwing this out, if you get it to pass, that we go back and we sign that agreement that they wanted to work out with us. That we pay X amount and it reduces that as A&M.
They need to, if the city wants to take it over, fine.
They were willing to do that.
Well, they're in a choice place. You know, they have the upper hand.
But I hate
They've
to
got all
see
the
us
freebies.
invest money in it when we said we don't have the money. Now, even if that passes, and I support the park, but I think the park board members should come out and say, look, we need a permanent source of funding. We should go out for some kind of a fund to support it on a permanent basis, because this is going to be an issue with us forever.
But when you look at the ages of those park board, most of those park board members.
And, but they don't have to do that unless they can get some young person to push that.
Sounds easy.
Yeah, well, anyway, I just.
Anyway, this will do it. What you want.
I just hate to throw what we've done
The
I
gates,
know.
away.
the gates will be closed though.
Are you?
You can still use the boat launch. We were going to have issues with people. I know you're going to have issues with people parking on the street and walking in, which is fine. But you'll have issues on the street, and that's going to be a city issue.
Well, yeah, let them handle it. But boy, that's
Yeah, it's in the city.
prettiest
It's
part.
in the city, and they need to deal with it.
That is the prettiest
So it's still
part.
going to get used. You just won't have large groups. You won't have
I'm worried about the people that are going to use it, though.
so much. Because number one, we're not going to have. You're going to get some litter, but we plan on using the work crews to clean up as much as we can.
We have it for 8 months.
Do you think a letter to who brought that to us when they said this person's interested? Not Larry, but
That.
well, he was there.
Yeah, he was there.
No, he was
Post.
he was there and said somebody was interested.
Right.
He didn't really
He didn't say it was
he
him.
If
I mean,
we
he's the one
sent
that
him
kicked
a
it a
letter
little bit.
back and said, "Dear Mr. Post, thank da-da-da-da, you know,
Here's the
we're really
shortfall. Now's the
interested.
time."
Yeah, we're really interested. Is your friend still?
That's still not a long-term answer.
Oh no, but it might be for a moment. But I just think that again.
And until they go to use it in April
Yeah.
1st, when the gates are still closed, nobody's going to really know.
But common sense is going to have to roll out if that 3% ever goes through, and the fact that it's going to have to go for a lot of other stuff.
Well, if Lyman comes back out, that 3% is just gonna balance us right back to where we are today.
Why, what's he gonna do?
If he tries to get enough ballot, or get enough signatures to roll property taxes back to
Yeah.
25% that he didn't get enough for last year, which is gonna take about 1.4
He says it's going to be
million.
worse for us, and it's going to be more successful for him. His next one.
Why would he quit?
Of course
He
he-
makes about $200,000-300,000.
Well, yeah, he's got a money-making deal here until people get
Putting these
smart.
out, yeah.
Golly.
Selling watches is a good business.
No, it wasn't a good business. That's why he's doing what he's
No,
doing.
I heard him say that's all he took money off of, was selling watches.
He admits he takes, what, $5,000 a week or some ungodly amount of money.
Well, he did for this last one that he didn't get through.
Yeah, he came out. He
Okay.
did that.
That's how we'll do it.
Thank you, Tim.
Okay. Thanks,
Hey,
Tim.
thanks.
Yeah, so we can go over this. And then, that was my next question. Do you want, I mean, I guess we're going to let them decide whether they want to continue. There's really not much to do.
Yeah. Huh.
The ball would be in their court. Really.
Okay.
Thank you.
Greg Wendt needs to come in at some time too.
Who?
Greg?
Greg?
For 2 claps.
Just,
Do you want me to do mine, or you want to call Greg in? Or? I still got a whole bunch.
why don't we call him and you start, and when he gets up here, we quickly do that, and It will ruin our good record of doing everything on a completely orderly manner, but
Well, one is taken care of, is it not?
yeah, one of these is.
I guess from here on out, Bob, I'll have you an agenda made too. I didn't even think about that. One's done. District Court probation. I just wanted to talk to you about this, and we can even talk to it about in budget time. But Sally McKenzie came in, and we met with her and Judge Roach and Terry, and she asked that we put $10,000 back into her probation work crew line because she's concerned that she would lose the ability to keep up with the grant. She's receiving $40,000 worth of grants, and the extra $10,000 helps to pay for the salary for the person that runs that grant program as far as picking up litter, waste management, and that. So I just wanted to bring that to your attention so you can give it some consideration. It doesn't have to be decided right now, but
You mean she could lose that grant if she doesn't have a?
well, she doesn't have the ability to work the program without that person, and that grant, that $10,000 helps pay for that person's salary that administers that grant, that cleanup.
Well, how much is the grant?
It's $40,000.
But run this by me again. The 10,000 doesn't. It pays for the portion used in picking up the litter.
Yeah, there's a certain portion of that grant, the way I understand it, is for the materials only, the disposal of those materials. She doesn't have enough money to have the whole work crew, which is volunteers, other than the person that heads up the supervisor of the volunteer, or the people who is assigned by district court to do the cleanup. So
they're not totally volunteers.
No, they're kind of. Somebody volunteered
But
them.
the individual that's administering the crew,
Right.
when they go out and pick up litter, how much is his salary?
I didn't ask that question.
And where is the money, the rest of the money, coming from for his salary?
The state. You know what? I'll have her come in.
Can she come in this
One thing
afternoon
I
or
picked
something?
up on that, I'll ask her to come in, is that she needed it to help pay for the person's salary to run that program. Without that, she would lose that whole program.
She just can't run the program.
It's an important program. I really support it and have her come involved.
Oh,
Is it more important than other programs?
okay, Greg.
Is it more important than other programs?
Yeah.
We've got to keep some cleaned up in this county. They seem to keep quite busy.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Morning, Mr. Williams.
I have 2 short plats that need signature if possible. 413 for Stephen Tomlinson. It was before you focused on September.
I move the approval
I'll second the motion.
of
All in
the
favor?
chairman's signature. Aye.
Today's the 22nd.
Yes.
Yeah. Is either your wife or Dan's wife going down on the 3rd?
Dan's West going down Wednesday, night, Thursday, on Thursday.
Oh, and then we're.
Thank you.
Are you through with your agenda? You just crowded in, huh?
Evidently. I didn't know I was, but I think I did.
Anytime you guys come in here, you're crowded.
We try to get you in here and out of here as quick as we can.
At least we're consistent, though. We don't just do it
If they didn't crowd in, they would have seen more. How come you're doing a solo today?
I don't know. You just said. Oh, this one is short plat 2004-17 for Black Dog Ranch.
I move for approval.
I'll second the motion.
All in favor?
Aye. seriously hate this pen. Or at least I dislike it intensely.
I've got tons of these short plots piled up.
Do
Hoping
you?
to get them filed, yeah. We've processed a lot of them this year, and very few have got them finalized, so hopefully this winter we'll have a lot of them getting through.
Where's my lid go?
Oh, that's not it over there, right? That's all gone.
There'll go in. I think I need a new one anyway. Greg, I think we need a new one of these anyway.
Okay, we'll get you one. Those Sharpies.
For the short flat, so
Yeah.
it's a special pen.
Yeah.
I have one here. They're not.
We will.
Well, it's all right. I just lost the lid, and so
Okay.
wherever, maybe I'll find it.
We'll get you.
It probably fell into the drawer, maybe.
But it's so faint.
Mm.
Okay. Did you guys look over? Is this year's? Oh, I see. This is this year's budget stuff.
We also have minutes for November 15th and November 17th.
I move the approval of the minutes for November 15th and November 17th.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
This is exciting stuff.
Well, we want it legal that we work that day, you know. The world is waiting. Okay, now. So you're going to have her come in. So now you have out of travel. Okay. I move approval of out of state travel requests for the IAFE convention for Fred Bowen and Dan Blaisdell.
And Paul Whitemarsh.
And Paul Whitemarsh.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
The city's not picking up polls.
No, the state is. State of
Labor?
Washington.
State of Washington.
Yeah, all of our stuff pretty much has gone through CTED. It was a grant they gave us to organize this event.
Did we eye that last one?
Yeah. You know what? I'd like to get copies of those letters. I think they were in the board mail.
Which
Weren't they those letters? The letter from the clerk?
Yeah, I think there's too much to absorb and remember from those letters. We need copies from the prosecutor. It's in the
I think
second one.
they are in
The
one.
bottom on that one. Prosecutor and clerk, I think we all need copies of those.
Bridget's putting a packet together.
Oh, is she? Okay.
Yeah,
We've probably got
it'll
all
be on
that
one
in it.
sheet.
then.
It'll be on one sheet.
And Pat's trying to get Mike Cuddy to come in at 2 o'clock.
Okay, what else do we have?
I need to go into executive session on union negotiations over the juvenile,
Okay,
and probably 10 minutes.
okay.
I don't. Sally, I tried to explain the $40,000 and the $10,000, and I basically told them that without the additional 10, you were going to lose the ability to run that crew, which then you would lose the ability to administer the program. But that's all I could.
Nobody here likes the program anyhow. Sally.
Yeah.
We want to hear your pitch.
That's what I hear all the time about that, right? That's the budget as it stands for 2005. And I only have 3 on me, but the L&I crew, we have to pay for the hours that we have the crew out there. Other supplies, I'm kind of going off here, our disposal costs with BDI. Pretty basic costs are the only one that you might question is at the bottom, the $3,000 to the city of Pasco, because I administer the solid waste program for the entire county, and they have a program. I've given them a portion of the grant based on road miles. So of the 72,000, I think that we get a year.
If we wouldn't put up the $10,000, just go the way, Sally.
Well, probation matches it. See, at the very bottom is the revenue for that program, and as it stands right now, we're already over. And I thought last year that 30,000 came from probation into my department, and it didn't. And so with it only being 20. If only 20,000 goes in, we wouldn't have enough to administer the program because I can't pay that out of this. What it came out of so far was where it shouldn't be this
Well,
money
is
from.
38,000 kind of a high salary for that position? It
I
seems
think
to
it's a
me like
responsibility, isn't it?
He's a probation officer / work crew supervisor, so that he has the ability to go in. If they don't show up, he can refer them for their
I know,
violence and things.
but if he's probation officer /
Crew
supervisor,
Couldn't the supervisor still refer them to someone if they didn't show up?
I think that's a dandy salary.
Well, I think the
It's,
responsibility
I think
there
it's
is
too
something
much.
that they're getting paid for, isn't it? To have them.
It's the way it was set up that it was a probation officer. So when it was initially set up, so that he could, because at least one day a week he goes into court, and then the other days of the week he's usually out on the road. So as the responsibility of being,
Is he the one that got fired over in Benton County?
no,
Didn't he come work for us?
no, we had Rich Newell come for a while. He was with the city of Kennewick, and he was let go prior to his probation,
His
and then
career.
came over here for a while. Now he's an officer in Bellevue. That's a Connell.
What is the probation budget number?
I don't know, it'd be behind district court, but the work crew.
It doesn't help me.
I know.
Sally, it has to be 10,000 exactly.
Well, it probably looks like a little over 8 would probably do it on the bottom. But I'm not sure. Are you looking for the probation officer salary or Jesse's salary?
Okay, probation officer.
Because he's not under that one. He's
So
under
you're
the
saying a
solid
little
waste.
I think she's
over
just
8.
comparing.
What,
See on the bottom. See my total expenditures for on
See,
the
you've got a
bottom.
probation officer here for $25,551 in this budget. Well, no, I guess we subtracted it out. It was a new one.
I think that was a
Where,
3/4.
Sally?
There's the total expenditures that I predict for 2005, and that's the revenue.
But here's the salary.
Yeah.
And I'm looking at, that's a pretty
Right.
healthy salary.
I think it's just the length of the time that he's been here. I think he's been here, gosh, I guess 5 or 6 years.
He's built up to that.
What about this city of the 3,000?
Yeah, that's what I give to the work
What
crew.
if we didn't?
Well, it's part of the program because I administer the whole solid waste program.
So that has
But,
to be
but if you didn't give it to them, would they say? What would they say?
I don't understand that. I don't understand why we're,
When I got to it, when I was allowed to apply for this grant, because we already have the CPG, the solid waste grant that we get, we were given the opportunity to apply for this litter grant. And actually, it was the city of Pasco that came to us because it was when Tim Arnson was still here. He went to district court and tried to get us to just give them the whole grant. And then I said, well, what work would you do for us? Because initially, we didn't think of doing the part-time probation officer, part-time work crew person. Initially, we were going to ask the sheriff if he would employ another deputy or a correctional officer to take work crew out, like some of them have done, And so, in this case, with the city, what we did is because I do administer the solid waste grants throughout the entire, for all 4 cities. what I did, instead of doing any work for the city, we based our miles of road versus their miles of road, and I came up to that dollar amount to give to them. Now, what we do for the other small cities is we go in and Jesse goes to them and does work for them, does litter pickup and park pickup for them.
Within the cities.
Within the small
What you're
cities.
saying, Sally, is you have $20,000 that'll be carried over.
What probation, you guys have given 20 in the past, but the expenses have gone up in the last 6 years. We need at least 30 to make 20.
So
8 to 10 more to make it run.
what did we put in that line item on our budget?
20.
We put 20 in it for next year?
You need another 8 at
We need
least.
actually another 8 based on that 6 to 9 would probably do it.
About another 8.
Because so you actually need another 8,000.
Yeah.
Okay.
And don't have any flat tires or anything.
All that's covered under the rental rates.
Oh, is it? Okay.
So I took out repairs and maintenance because most of that it should be covered under the vehicle expense.
Well, Sally, I hate to say this to you, but I do think that it's a good program. And I appreciate the efforts that's been put forth on it, because I know I've seen the amount of work and I've seen the benefits of what they've done.
Yeah. It is great. I mean, I tried to point out too that because of that grant, they're dedicated. My grant part of it, they're dedicated to only litter pickup. So by having the probation funds match us, that gives us the ability to go out and do the other things, like do this stuff at the courthouse and the annex, because I can only get reimbursed for time that he's picking up litter from my grant. So by having the probation money, it gives us the latitude to go do the other things. Like even when they go to the small cities to help them, like Clovis and Mesa and Connell, they go to Connell. They don't necessarily pick up litter. They might help them do chipping in the parks and things like that. And so it helps us also with our relations with them when it comes to solid waste budgeting time also. But they do, I know it's just so far through October of this year, there's been over 2,200 hours. And you divide that by the 8 hours in a day. So you figure that there's 275 days that people weren't put in jail because they were put on this crew instead. Which, if we figured it costs $50 a day to put somebody in there, it saves you about almost $14,000. So the savings.
You're part of sales.
I have to. I had to.
That pitch she's given.
They do, though. I mean,
We'll consider this in the grand scheme of things then, Sally.
yeah.
Trevor Wright from K&D was going to be coming in here shortly.
It does kind of show.
Film.
That one kind of shows some of the savings.
Oh,
too.
Frank, did you have to invite
Who
him?
does she want to speak with?
He
Trevor is a boy's
Trevor
name.
he wants you to call, but he just called again and wanted to know where the board was meeting. He's going to come in with his camera to shoot some film for tonight's news.
Okay, fine. Well, I'm not the chair here, so.
I know, and I reminded him of that.
So why did you initiate it? We know
Did
you
he
did.
ask to speak to me?
He did. And then he said he would also speak to the chair if the chair would also like to speak regarding the budget.
All right. Thank you, Pat.
Is that all of me?
Sally, it's always a pleasure to have you with us. Next time,
Great
don't come
job,
asking for
Sally.
money. You'll be more appreciated. All right?
That's every time.
Thanks, Sally.
Good morning,
There we-
Connie. And
Were you through?
Oh, so do we have something to?
she's going to bring that sheet in.
Well, let me go ask you.
Yeah. I won't have to go back and pick up anything if she brings in that sheet.
Whoa.
You've got that evil smile.
That's Monday,
Yeah.
The Cougars won, that was good.
Wasn't that something?
They tried to
Uh-huh.
cook it, but
Let me tell
Yeah,
you something.
tonight.
They were lucky to beat my team.
All right.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I'm gonna go.
Absolutely.
Boo! Hiss!
You're, well, good for you guys.
This only happens once every so many years, so let us enjoy.
I went to school at the U of W before I dropped out and got married. I had a scholarship there.
Oh.
I went 2 years each place, Connie, but I root for the team that has the best team.
So much for loyalty
I'm real thick.
on the east side of the state.
I like
These are purple.
You know, I was with WSU.
Pass
Most of
double
the
back.
people there were from the west side of the state.
A lot of people there west side.
They want to get out of town.
Yeah.
A lot of
Want to come over where the air's clean, the people
that
are
road that comes through
nice.
Othello and comes out of Wichita now. You see
Oh.
that on a Sunday night after a holiday. My God, that just steady.
Yeah, those kids. I used to, go run into Othello for something when we lived on the farm. Man, you'd never get across that way.
Yeah, that was really. Mr.
Good morning. God, I'm dying of hunger.
Will we
Oh, they're ganging up on us. Be careful. The troops are assembling.
All we're asking is why.
How'd your kids do on the fudge sale over there? Did you hear? They were.
You need an
Huh?
audience.
Oh yes, yeah, yeah. I wanted to go over and watch that game, but no way. It was cold, cold, cold. I went to the Pasco game, froze.
Well, they played good, didn't they?
Yeah, they played. At first they
I was
didn't.
cleaning, but I was listening.
Wow.
Pasco's like USC. Man, they got a team.
You got to get their attention first, and then they just do marvelous. And one time, the other team was cheering the guy their teammate who they thought they had the football, while Jackson was running over with the football to make a touchdown.
When
Did they bring a lot of people?
He said he didn't
They were loud. They had a good band with them. No, they didn't.
This looks like a Dad
freight
is a
train.
Samoan.
Mm-hmm.
Jay's like tall. I hope he gets as big as his dad. He'll be a good football player.
Now, these big kids used to about sign their own contract because they're about 300 men.
Yeah.
She's one short.
How come I got my last grade?
You didn't. Connie did.
Oh.
Oh, I did.
Mary, let
That was
me
last night.
have this. Or would you make a copy of that for me? She didn't need it.
Okay.
Yeah, if you want to give me that.
One of the things we talked about too, like the departments, if they had more than one segment and they could make the reduction in one, that was fine, as long as the total was the same, and that's all
Yeah,
right
I'm
now.
still here.
Well, Elmer's going to retire.
No, he's taking early, or he's retiring.
That's what I mean. He's going to retire.
Oh, I thought you said him be fired.
Oh, no. No.
Fire to fire.
District Court. Oh, you know who I was thinking of was Clyde. Yeah. Gee, it's going to be boring around here with no chattel.
All right, let me explain this to you. We're just making copies, so I guess she's got them there. But these are if you go to the column furthest to the right, this is
Thanks, Bridget.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, you can see what that is. So if you can see that basically we had $499,000 that needed to be cut. Basically $382,592 was turned in, but we still need to go down and look at the capital outlay non-departmental. That's the commissioner's budgets. They need to take a look at see what they need to cut out of those. If you go to the back page, basically, again, it's the departments. The column furthest to the right is the reduction in revenues also. So by clerk's office, since he said again, you've got a clerk, he's saying if he takes that cut, he's going to lose $78,000 in revenues. The Sheriff's Department and Corrections will lose $210,000 in revenues. You can read it for yourself. We're losing $325,000 in revenue by making those cuts.
So
in a
that
sense,
means we
didn't
have
gain.
to make more cuts.
We didn't gain anything.
I said, so that means we have to make more cuts.
That's right. That's right, because we've got a total of 282 in gains, and we've lost 225.
Mike is here. He can explain
Mm-hmm.
his department.
Well, one of the things we talked about too, like the departments, if they had more than one segment and they could make the reduction in one, that was fine, as long as the total was the same, and that's all right now.
Well, there was two different scenarios that I proposed. I don't know if you read the letter. Did you?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. If I don't cut that person and transfer that money in the collections fund, then those revenues will still be there. And those cuts, the amount of money that needs to be transferred and then a reduction in the professional services would be the 3.5% that I would need to cut. And that money in the LFO fund is not in the 160 budget. So it's not even...
What's the LFO fund?
It's the money that the state gave us for the collections fund.
Mike, I don't have a copy of the letter. Do you have that?
Yeah.
Would you make an
She
extra
gave
copy?
us one. Didn't she give you one?
Yeah, it's not in the 160, and it's in its own separate budget.
Is that? I guess it's here, huh?
Yeah.
Well,
Okay, I have it here, Mike.
So
okay.
it's outside of current expense?
Yes. I don't have the number here with me. I can't remember. What, 250? Is that it, Tom? Do you remember? You and I talked about it.
117.
117?
The LSO
Yes.
fund number?
Yeah.
It's 117.
Yeah.
And so you're saying that if you transferred that in there to make up for your 3.5%, what was that money used for?
It's there to be used for salaries, for equipment, for travel, for training, anything that's in conjunction with collections. That's the only thing it can be used for.
It's from the state.
Yes.
State.
So why didn't we have it? Why didn't we have the employee over in that budget?
It's $19,000 over biennium. We just haven't used it yet. It came in last year.
Well, who is that same employee processing passports?
Everybody processes passports.
Everyone?
Mike, what happened here? And I had not read your letter from now till now. I don't know what happened here. It said, due to the fact that I'll be laying off my collections clerk, revenue will be reduced to $61,000. How long have you had that collections clerk?
Well,
Was
actually,
she here before you?
Well, Joanne did it for a while when Bev was here, then, but only like an eighth of her time. Then in 2000...
How much were we taking in during that period of time, Mike?
I don't have those figures here with me, but it was not, per se, 100% collections.
No, but what percentage of this $61,000 were we taking in before we hired a collection clerk?
I don't have those figures here. I don't know.
Would it be half or 75%?
I thought we weren't doing that.
Even doing the collections is not mandated, but with the state, with the Senate Bill 5990, all the clerks in the state assumed collections from the Department of Corrections. Before that, we weren't doing it the way we're doing it now. We didn't have the tools to do it. We didn't have the authority to go after people the way that we do now. I'd say it was maybe 10% of that.
You don't have the figures?
I don't have the figures here, no.
In my mind, Mike, I remember a higher figure than that. I do, and I'm not. I would just like to know what we had collected previously, because this is real significant to us and to your budget.
Under the revenue area, where? Oh, there it is. See, in 2002. We collected, I'm on the wrong line.
See, the
It's this
338.
clerk OAC collection, then there's nothing.
Yeah, it's the 338.19 is the line that you need to look at there. That's just the fee that we assess on top of the other fines and fees that we collect.
See, and it shows. Does it show 60,000?
Yeah, but there's a combination of things that person collects that you don't see within this. This is just the fee that she charges, the $100 per case fee, is what that is on the 338.19.
Now, who pays that?
The defendants pay that. It's 100% current expense money.
And when do we collect that?
First.
How long has that position been in place, Mike?
We've had it since I've been clerk, but they didn't do the things that they're allowed to do now. Before, we couldn't collect any fees on top of it.
Have we hired that position?
No, it's just something that we've assumed within the office already. We didn't get another employee to do that.
So what changes then?
What changes is I won't be doing collections, and we won't be getting this fee here.
I don't understand what.
Well, yeah, what makes you not do collections, I think, is what we're trying to find out, is
I can opt
why
out
can
of it
you
due
not?
to legislation that was passed last year.
But why do you opt out of it?
Because we have other things that we have to do within the office as well, due to the 6th judge, court commissioner time, population growth. We're just busier than we have been. And all I'm saying is if I can transfer that money out of that other fund, then I wouldn't have to lose this person.
But that's just a one-time fix. What happens
Well, we'll get the money
year?
next year, too. Not, well, it depends on what the cuts will be next year, too. I don't know.
Because I don't see this is going to go away unless we go out for
Right.
that
Property tax.
3%. And then I don't think
But then it has to
Hyman's
pass.
thing of cutting our taxes 25%, that's going to eat that up. So, you know, we're looking, this isn't going to go away.
Am I,
And what I was thinking, excuse me for interrupting, but if we change our courthouse hours from 9 to 4, that hour and a half wouldn't, uninterrupted time, wouldn't that help your workload?
It would help, but we still have to have, I still have to have people in court during times as well. I mean, just,
But that hour and a half, they wouldn't be in court.
I'm sure they would.
No.
If there's hearings at juvenile, if they're having a trial that's going, they're not going to stop the trial just because the courthouse doors are closed. We stay late sometimes till 5, 6, 6:30, 7, depends on the trials. Because they're already in
The
session.
trials, don't they
What kind of-
usually quit at 4?
It depends.
What
Last
kind of
week,
Most of
hours
them
would
do.
you?
well,
what kind of
most of
hours
them, but
would you have to
sometimes
have?
we do stay
What
late.
kind of hours would you have to have, Mike, to have an impact on your office, a positive impact as far as reduction in time?
I guess I'm not following you. What do you
What
mean?
kind of courthouse hours would we have to install in order to have a positive impact on your office?
Well, those will help.
No, but if these won't help, what kind of hours would you need? We're looking at 9 to 4 right now.
Well, I guess, Frank,
And the question I'm asking is, if you change those to 9:30 to 4 or 10 to 4, what I'm looking at is to pick up as much of an extra employee as we can by the extra time you'd have where you didn't have counter time
Right.
that would occupy your employee's time.
Yeah, that's. I don't think I can.
See,
I
the
can't
courts
answer
go
that.
on even if we close
Right.
early.
If the
is what
doors
he's
are
saying.
closed, we still have court that has to go on. Because
No,
I don't set the
understand
court
that,
time.
but he does counter work that's not necessarily
Right.
pertaining to court, and this is what I'm getting at. The counter work would go away during the time that you were closed, except for the time you had to have someone in court.
I don't know.
Were you asking originally for another employee?
I never did ask for another employee.
Okay, well, see, now that's where I'm stymied. Is why do you not do this work if you weren't asking for another? You were busier. I understand that.
When we got the 6th judge, I said I need to find out prior to asking for a new employee how much busier we will be. Okay. And we are busier now because of that new judge and then the court
Obviously.
commissioner time too as
Thank
well.
you.
And the juvenile hearings aren't going away. They're getting to be more and more.
And I come back to that question I asked you about the time again, Mike, and this is not just a frivolous thing tossed out because we got some serious budget
Right.
issues we have to look at here. And we have considered closing the courthouse an hour and a half a day.
Right.
Hope that would alleviate the pressure in the office and allow them to do other things and take away the counter time. Now, some
And that
offices that
helps.
wouldn't be applicable.
Right.
I feel in your office, the auditor's office, and the treasurer's office, where people come in a lot, that would have some impact. And I'm just wondering if another half hour or whatever would.
It would help, but it doesn't make up for the time if we were to lose a person. If that's my answer, I guess. I don't know other way to put it.
Because we got hard decisions to
Right.
make here because we look at the decreased revenue and we're just back not too far ahead of where we started.
Right. And again, well, and then passports, I'm not mandated to do those, and again, that's revenue that's 100% to the county. It doesn't go to the state at all. We keep all of that here. I don't know. I just think if you give me the chance to transfer that money out of that fund, and if she can get this revenue of $55,000 and going after these other offenders that aren't paying, that'll increase other revenues in these other lines as well. And if it doesn't look good, then we could revisit it at the next budget hearing, middle of the year. I don't know.
I just think if we don't stick to our everybody taking their share of the cuts based on the percentage
right.
part of your budget.
Well, we're transferring money out of the 117 budget. That's not in current expense.
But I think we as a board will be tarred and feathered by the other departments that are making cuts.
Well, I'm still making cuts. I'm reducing my professional services line.
But is that a realistic cut?
Yes. I've already talked to Zona, and we're going to take money out of the O&M fund when money gets transferred in there for funding for other. Well, Connie can talk about that.
What's
the
O&M fund?
The auditor's O&M.
The auditor's O&M.
Right.
So we've discussed here many times.
Yes.
Set up a committee to operate on.
Right.
Can that be done without committee approval?
Well, we're going to the committee. Yeah.
Mike, the only thing I think any of us can say is we'll have to look at all options here, and nothing is off, at this time, nothing is off the table. But the big issue, if we add back for one department and don't treat the other departments the same.
I guess I don't see why you think you're treating me differently. I'm making cuts.
Well, I guess because you have a fund that you can transfer into. And I don't know why it was ever put over, set aside.
It had to be set aside by the state auditor.
It seemed like it was a dedicated source.
Right.
So
But how do you make expenditures against it if you don't have an expenditure?
There's an expenditure line out of there.
For what?
For collections purposes only.
So it can be used to regenerate itself.
Correct. Pardon me?
It can be used to regenerate itself, in essence.
No.
There'll be money put back into it again next year when the state allocates us the funding again. But we don't put money into it. The state puts money into it. It's different than this 338.19 line.
I think it's something we have to discuss, Mike. I don't decide which way we want to go.
Okay.
The state has been putting money into that line, I don't know how long.
Just this last year and the year before.
Last year and the year before, at one point.
Total $19,000
per year or for the last 2 years?
biennium. Next year we'll get another $10,000.
Okay. So it'll probably come in at that rate then.
What was the number?
Right, 117. And then we're trying to get the legislature to increase that amount as well.
But there wouldn't be enough there. If money hadn't accumulated in that fund, it wouldn't be enough to take care of an employee out of it.
No, but then that 338.19 money would go away too. That as of October, there's almost $26,000 in there.
I don't see it in the budget.
Yes, it's in the miscellaneous budgets.
That's where I'm looking. I'm looking in 2003. Did you have it in the 2003?
I don't think it was in there at that point.
I think this year's the first budget year
that it was put in there.
But I thought you said it was for both years.
It is, but we didn't get that fund set up until last year.
I don't know what happened to my 2004 budget. Do you have one, Mary? Mine was here.
Now, we were doing passports, then we discontinued passports. You came on board as clerk.
Right.
We started doing passports
Right.
again. And at that time, when you first started doing passports, Mike, who did passport for in the office?
They went to Benton County.
They went to Benton County.
No,
right?
no, but when we started doing them here,
Well, everybody in the office processes them.
everybody knows process.
Right. We all do it.
Okay. So you feel it'll just be too much of a workload that you'll be unable to do that?
Well, I guess it just depends on the outcome of the other things that we're talking about.
Okay.
Did you find it, Eva?
Yeah.
Okay.
We wish we could wave our lawn, Mike, and make everything better, but I'm not sure we can.
Because, you know, the sheriff's doing the same thing, you know, what he's gonna cut. He says it's gonna cut the revenue, so, you know, I don't know
I know.
where we're at. I don't know, we're expected to pull these figures out of the sky.
Right, but this is money that's already there. We're not taking other money out of current expense.
No, it
They
isn't,
are.
But it's,
I mean-
in essence, it's not one-time money, but it sort of is because it doesn't replenish in the same amount that goes out.
But again, this collections money, if I don't have the clerk working that time, I cannot by law assess that fee. So really, you're losing more money because of that.
Now, run it by me, because we were collecting that money, Mike, before we hired somebody specifically.
Not for this fee, though. We weren't assessing that at that time.
But doesn't everybody in the office, aren't they capable of collecting that money? If they go to the counter.
Well, anybody can take a payment, but we
That's what I'm
have, this
talking about.
person here actually writes letters, takes phone calls, checks credit reports, extends jurisdiction on these cases. Without doing that work, we cannot by law assess that $100 fee per case that we take in on it. That's where that money is there. And it's not allocated to salaries.
Explain the law, the law a little better to me, Mike. I'm slow at catching on here.
Okay.
You say by law you can't.
I cannot assess a fee if I don't have a collections clerk working these cases.
You have to have somebody titled collection
Yes.
clerk working specifically.
Right.
You can't have that function spread out among other people.
They
could,
take
but
the
it's-
responsibility.
They take the responsibility of it. If everybody does it, then you've got too many hands working on the same type of cases.
But, in other words, the law would allow more than one person to work on that. That's what you're saying. So you could have several people perform that function.
If they had time.
Yes, that's what I'm asking.
I just want to ask the hard question.
Okay.
Why is it that this person has to be the one to go? Isn't there anybody else in the department that you can cut back on? I mean, in the real world of business, I don't think you would cut somebody who's actually bringing in $80,000.
But this is something new that we haven't been doing for that long.
Well, this is something.
I
that's
agree, Fred, but I've got
benefit,
2 people at juvenile. I've got 2 people in court now. That's 4 people out of 10 right now. We have filings, phone. Those things don't
Mike,
stop.
you know what? I can't sit here and say that every
Right.
one of your people is not valued and
Mhm.
not needed. You know, the commissioners did not bring this on. This
Right.
is all done by the voters.
Right.
They say they want to have this done. You know, in order for us to get through this, we need to have everybody come to the table and do the best they
Right.
can to save all of the revenues possible and cut their expenditures back. And to me, you know, in the real world of business, you wouldn't pick on the person that's actually bringing in another $80,000. You'd say, you know what, guys, I'm going to have to close the windows at noon, and I'm going to have to cut back somebody else. And I mean, that's what you would do in the real world of business. I just have a hard time understanding why you would cut the person that brings in the money.
Is this a case of last hired, first fired?
And she is the last hired person, too. Because of the hiring freeze that we had, and then Joanne went to work for the treasurer's office.
And there wouldn't be anybody else. I mean, you have a legitimate reason to keep that position. if it's going to bring in money.
True.
There's nobody else. That,
And it would be possible to retain a position, assuming this were an issue, if the last person hired took that position, it wouldn't be possible to transfer someone else into that position?
Well, if it's
I
a
don't know.
union, whoever it would bump. You know, it'd be a bumping issue.
That's what I'm saying, though. If she was the last person in the union that was hired, Fred, that person would go, but would it not be possible to transfer somebody else into that position so we keep the position and not the employee?
Yeah, because none of them, as far as the budget goes, is designated.
Right.
They're all deputy clerks except for the bookkeeper and the chief deputy. And
Well, we're not trying to make this
Right.
20 questions, Mike. What we're trying to do is do the best we can on the revenue and still keep this thing going, because that's quite a hit. And I understand you're protective of your employees, and as you should be. But we're trying to work something out here, and this is a big chunk of change, because we started out, we thought with the cuts straight across that we would be able to come out with a balance.
Actually, on that sheet, if you look at it, we haven't gained anything.
Right. I saw that. And all I'm asking is that if you could transfer that money out from that other fund.
well, see, I guess I'm perplexed by that, because if, in fact, it has to be kept separate, how can we mix it in with current expense now?
Because you could transfer it out to be used for salaries. We just hadn't never done that because it's only been in there that short period of time. Of course, it wouldn't cover the entire salary either, but it would be that percent that we would cut. And I know that those persons bring in more money than, well, hopeful that we could do the 55,000 at least in that one line that we had bumped up this past budget hearing. And then we have the jury problem too. I have one staff person that dedicates probably 75% of her time on jury management. Which saves district court and municipal court time. Of course, I get funding from the city for that, but it's not enough for an entire salary. And that money all goes back into the jury line anyway, not for salaries.
You know, the board, this isn't the only department that has the ability to transfer funds from other places to kind of fill this hole. Because I know of another department that can do the same thing. So, you know, I mean, I think you're going to have to make a decision whether you're going to allow these miscellaneous funds to help, I mean, legitimately fill some of these holes. If it's a legitimate expense, it's a legitimate expense. But, you know, I know that there's going to be another department coming in here basically saying the same thing to you. And so, you know, it's
But is that fair to the, I mean, I looked at the revenue sheet here, and where some departments don't bring in any revenue, but there's certainly an important cog to county government. And I'll just give the example of the county assessor. So, you know, is that fair to his department?
Well,
when his workload is probably really increased compared to other departments, because he not only assesses county rural people for the city.
Right.
I mean, and I don't know.
Well,
But
let's
if
look
you're-
at it this way.
Okay.
If he loses that position, he loses the $78,000. We got to go for more. We got to start cutting
well,
more.
but
So, you know, I guess it kind of boils down to why would you cut the person that's bringing in the money? Because if you cut that person, then you're going to lose somebody else, because it's going to have to take that to make that up.
that's
I
what
mean,
I'm thinking.
you know,
If you're desperate for money, you're going to keep whatever brings in money, and make your cuts elsewhere, which isn't fair. There's nothing fair about it. It's paying the bills. It's about it.
So many departments, Mike, don't have access to those other funds that they could go to take care of their cuts. And I know that there are other departments, and Judge mentioning that will be asking the same thing. I mean, we want to be fair to everybody, but some don't have access or have that opportunity. And this is why it makes it difficult to decide what we're going to do here. But equity is what we have to deal with. I think we've about beat this to death, Madam Chair, at least for now.
Well, yes, I got one more question, Mike. If the board says no, absolutely, you can't transfer that money, therefore you're going to have to make that cut. You make that cut, you're going to lose another $78,000. So are we to assume that we've just lost $78,000? We need to go back out for more.
Well, I believe so, because that money, that $19,000, I cannot spend it for anything other than collections. So that money will be gone anyway.
Well, that money, no, because
The
you've already
19,000
spent it.
will be-
You've
I
already
haven't,
spent
but we
it.
haven't done anything with it.
I understand, but the county has spent it on collection right now for that individual. I mean, for the money that we've received to this point. I mean, you already said that 19,000 isn't going to pay for the clerks that you've had in your office to do the work. So we've already spent it, so we should be reimbursed with that fund.
That's one way to look at it, I guess.
Well, I mean, at this point, yes.
Well,
it's a reimbursement for what we've already spent. It's part of the payment.
Well, that'd be fine, to do that. I don't see a problem with that. It's just that it doesn't solve the problem that we have right now.
Right.
And,
See, I'm not mandated to do collections. Okay. And I agree
guess
with
I
you.
don't understand
I
that.
agree. We are not mandated to do it. The clerk said they would do it because DOC was getting out of doing that. Okay. I agree with Fred saying that, yeah, why would you want to do that? If I cannot get the mandated functions of the office done with the staff that I have, why would I do collections? I'm mandated to be in court.
Maybe?
Well, no, I'm not saying that.
Well, it comes down to
when it comes
mandate.
down
You have
to
to do what
work,
you have to do.
And Mike,
I just had to say it because
I don't
This is why
agree with
come
that,
back
but
to the hourly thing, as far as how many hours you'd have to have cut off your daily schedule to make your office function. And this may be one of the considerations we have to have.
Right.
I mean, people.
But again, even though the window is closed, there's still hearings going on.
No, we understand that.
Right.
But all it would do would be to take away the counter work.
Right.
And whatever percentage of time that's spent on the counter, we could alleviate it for that percentage of time taken away from that window.
Right.
And this is what we'd be looking at. But I don't think we can discuss this much more here.
Thanks.
Thanks, Mike.
Thanks, Mike.
Now, do we have someone else?
Are you here with us, Marie?
I'm a citizen
I
here.
see
You're
there were no-
observing?
I'm observing.
There was nothing made on the treasurer.
And Jenny's not in today.
But she had this
Yeah.
to cut. I mean, she was given the information that we needed it by Friday.
Our only option is to make the cut. And how we would have to make a cut, because we can't define our needs, would be to go to the last person hired. It would be, and we can't say, well, cut them to a half-time, we'd have to go to a full-time employee. And it would appear to me, based on the figures I see here, that maybe cut somebody or a couple of people at three-quarter time would solve your problem.
Well, okay, our office is in kind of the same situation as Mike's. We have a fund that we could go to. I have not talked with Jenny about this. I don't know if she would do this. But we have a treasurer's O&M fund, and that is set aside strictly for the collection of delinquent taxes. We have a deputy in our office that spends most of her time doing that function. We could transfer the funds out of there to pay a portion of her salary.
How much do you collect in that fund each year, Marie, you know?
Off the top of my head, I do not know.
Could you get us that figure?
I know what's in there now.
How much is in there now?
There's 60,000 in there now.
And could you get us the figure on how much you collect annually on that?
I mean, according to the budget here, it looks like you must collect about 9,300
That sounds about right.
because you show a beginning cash of 40, and we're showing 50 here. So, you know, based
About
on
9,300 a year then would come in.
I mean, that's what they have for the current 2004.
There would not be enough money coming in each year to pay half her salary ongoing. It would only be if half were fixed.
And this is what we're looking at, something that you have in perpetuity, not just a one-time shot.
I mean, there's enough in there right now that it could probably pay her salary for 2, possibly 3 years. I mean, half of her salary.
Supplement, yeah.
Half of her salary.
Well, Marie, could I ask the question, if, a person is cut, is that also going to be that person that's going to be cut from collection so we can?
No. We're in the same situation as the assessor's office. The workload's increased. And
We're all in that situation. But there's one thing that everybody needs to know, and we don't print money.
No.
We may have to try to get in that business, but we don't print money right now. And we got to spread the money we have out as best we can.
I guess I have as a citizen, I have a question for the board, because this was brought up at Sue's retirement dinner by.
Oh, sure, blame me.
It wasn't brought up by you. But a person asked me, they said, and I'm not picking on any personalities.
Just spit it out. Just
or
spit it out.
any departments.
We've already got your disclaimers, but go ahead.
Now go for it.
This person said 12 years ago, we had 3 commissioners and 1 secretary. How come now we have 3 commissioners, an administrative person, a human resources department, and 3 secretaries? I said, I don't know.
And that's a legitimate question, Marie. And the best answer.
And that office isn't mandated. I mean, your office is mandated, but all those other offices.
Let me give you an
are not
answer. Let me give you an answer to that. 10 years ago, we didn't have the requirements that we have today. And also, we hired an attorney in the past to do a negotiation. Our resource person and our county administrator pick up the attorney fees that we'd have to have. We have an attorney, I think we got $5,000 budget in the budget for that purpose. We didn't have the building going on at that time that we have now. We've had building going on constantly, which has been a big portion of Fred's function. And I don't think I could answer that any better. I mean, those positions.
Well,
are
and
not needed.
another point I'd like to make: Tiffany does not work for the commissioners. She works for the whole county.
Yeah, and the human resources
Our
person
human
saves you a
resource,
lot of
she's
money.
in our budget.
Not a lot of
We could just as well have put it in the treasurer or the auditor's budget.
Or split it out.
Or split it out. But there has been a couple offices that have had to do some terminations. She spent a lot of time doing that.
Well, it was just a question.
Well, I mean, it's a good question.
In 10 years, we've also had more mandates to our offices and county growth and things like that, too. See, and I'm just saying, you're asking us to make cuts, but
we've made
Oh, this
cuts.
board is making
We have
cuts.
made
The
cuts,
commissioner's
Marie,
office is making
based on the
cuts.
same percentage that everybody else did. And these positions that we have provide a service to the rest of the county, both Tiffany and Fred. And the functions they perform are not just for the commissioner's office, they are countywide.
I'm not asking you to get rid of anybody. I'm just
No, and we're giving you an answer as to why we
And
utilize it.
our clerk of the board is part-time. But we have to have someone in the office to answer the phone and get our agendas ready, and then with the second secretary, she helps with Tiffany's work and Fred's. And so I guess we could get rid of her, but it's humanly impossible for one secretary to handle this office.
Well, and if you go back to when we had the one, try to go back and find something. That person was so overworked, it was pathetic.
I mean, in the middle of
She did
our...
the best she could, but she did a
Well,
good
it was.
job.
In the middle of our public hearing, she'd be answering the phone. It was very unprofessional.
But it is hard for it to see from the outside. But when you sit here and you see sometimes that person just saved you enough money to pay for their salary for the year. But what do? Shout it to the heavens? No, you go on with the work, And I'm sure in some instances every office can say that too. So that's right.
But we have made our cuts based on our budget. And we expect, or at least hope, that the other offices cooperate and make their cuts, and we don't have to make it for them.
Can I make a comment? There was a letter that I read that basically said that 3.5% across the board just simply wasn't fair. We looked at the usage of every department against the whole county budget. Say, Mike, your percentage usage, I'm just going to throw a number out there, 6%. And Marie, yours is 2.5%. So if we took the 2.5% of the $500,000 shortfall and then the 6% of the $500,000 shortfall, believe it or not, the numbers come out the same.
The arithmetic will come out the same.
And
you need to run those figures and you'll find out what it does.
So we, that 3.5 across the board was just as. I mean, I think everybody would have felt better if they'd have looked at it the way I was just talking about, because they'd say, well, everybody's getting cut fairly, but the numbers come out the same.
Because the relationship, the percentage is the same, but the relationship, the deficit stays the same in relationship to whatever your original budget was. And if you don't believe it, go back to your office and run those figures, because it doesn't sound like...
Yeah, we did it, though, and it does.
Well, one is against the deficit and the other is against the total budget. And I didn't believe it until it was proven to me. I just couldn't believe it. Almost comes out to the penny.
All being great mathematicians, the first time that we found that out.
The biggest problem is that the county does not have enough money to make its expenses. And that's just, and every department's going to suffer equally. I mean, I suppose you could earmark one department or the other. I mean, Maria, I hear what you say, but I've heard other departments say, well, look at that department over there. They need to be cut. Well, you go talk to these people. Well, look at that department over there. Everybody's department's, more important to them than the other department.
That's right.
But they're all important, for the functionality of the county itself.
I mean, it has to be...
and this is why I go back to what I was mentioning to Mike on the hours, because I think we may come down to hours. We've talked about an hour and a half. It may have to be more than that, but we have to do something that's workable.
Well, that's the frustrating part about it, and even you alluded to it, with departments that don't have money to be able to use. And I understand the concept, and I'm not saying I agree or disagree. I'm just saying that there are offices that have money that they can use, and so they're able, if the commissioners allowed, are able to offset these costs. So really, they're not taking a hit. They are, but they're not. And it's hard to explain that to employees in another department that don't have that ability. And we're going, we lose, and everybody else gets to keep. Wait a minute. Now, I understand.
I really think it's
we're a little more able to sit in here and, we hear what's going on, and they don't always hear all the discussions. But it's still it's hard for an employee.
Yeah.
And especially those that happen to be maybe the ones that are going out the door part-time, or half-time or full-time, and not going to have a job. It's hard. It's a tough situation we're in. And I think one of you mentioned it's going to be probably this way again next year, maybe worse. And I don't see, unless the legislature steps in, that it's going to get any better down the road. We all know what's happening.
With their billion and a half, shortfall, going
There's
in.
not gonna be any help?
I don't see where there's going to be any help to us, and in fact, I think that they'll be cutting us.
And I say that not in trying to argue against Mike or, the possibility of Marie or the
How come
auditor.
you're trying to make us out the bad guys, Steve?
Pardon me?
You're making us out the bad guys.
Well, I
Argue a little bit with them.
It's just, and I know you're all aware of it, but, sometimes you just, I don't know, it's a hard situation.
Well, what you say is absolutely right. I hate to admit that, but you're right, Steve.
You have to walk back into an office and try to explain what's going on, and, the emotions flow
We're going to have
sometimes.
to recess for lunchtime here.
Oh.
No, we don't. I brought my lunch. You
As
guys are
exciting
just going to
as
have to
this is,
tough it.
We're going to have to recess for lunch and come back at,
I want to make one more comment. I was at union negotiations over in Juneau the other day, and, we went in and we made our offer, which they were not very happy with, and we still told them that they were still going to make cuts, even though our offer was nothing. And they're upset with the county commissioners, they're this and that, but people aren't taking into account. The state didn't even bat an eye when they cut that $1.2 million out of current expense out of this budget right here. The state doesn't have a problem a bit about making mandates, saying you need to do this and you need to do that. Oh, and by the way, I'm pulling my funding. Right now there's a lot of pressure with everybody, and it's easy to point your finger and scream and say, well, this. It's just this whole state of Washington's in trouble. We've been fortunate over the last few years because we've had new construction. We put $350,000 in new construction into this next year's budget. If that construction shuts down, there's another $350,000
we'd be looking for right now.
And it will
we're
inevitably.
on a downward spiral, and it isn't going to get any better.
Unless legislation takes place.
And where are
local
they going to
options-
get the money?
Local options are not always the best option. We do have the local option to 3/10, but that has to be approved by the people. And as you know, that might not be very
And
easy to do.
we're looking at it seriously. I mean, I think we've got to look at it. But if the people vote it down, then they've told us.
How much is it going to impact next year because of what the Supreme Court just did, or whatever?
Yeah,
reversing
we've got
those murder trials.
5 murder trials.
I
Or is
couldn't
it
believe
4?
it when they
It's
said
4 with
5 plus
orange. Yeah,
if
5.
the person didn't die at the scene of the crime, then it's not a murder. So it's
Well,
all right
for
if they
instance,
die
if I
3 days
went
later.
and hit you over the head, Fred, to assault you, and then you died, I didn't mean to kill you.
You just wanted to assault.
Just
What
wanted to
kind of
bonk you on the
reasoning
head.
is that? And now they're handing these murders back down to the counties, and Franklin County can really, really handle retrying those 5 people.
10 years later, try to run down that evidence.
Oh, we've got the evidence.
But you don't have the witness.
Try the witness.
The witnesses is the problem.
This
Yeah.
is right.
But they can be won without the witness.
Yes. So yeah, our jury line is at 45,000. This year we haven't had any large trials. We've spent 36 already. So it's
So those all have to be heard this next year?
orange we might not have to do.
But the others will have to be read.
The others will, yes.
Jury duty fees are non-negotiable. I mean, that you pay.
Well, it would help if there's a plea bargain, if the
Yeah.
attorneys would get ahead.
Hopefully they could plead and have time served or something.
Yeah, so the juries don't have to come in. But it's pretty
A
disheartening.
lot of those guys would like to plea bargain, you bet. They're coming back.
No, I'm talking about regular.
They're not out yet.
Well, these guys come back.
We're trying.
Did we just vote for those people too?
Did we just
No,
those
we-
judges?
Two of them, 3 of you put back in.
I think we need to rethink that.
Huh?
Shall we recess?
Yes, we need to recess for lunch.
It's
Be
been
back
delightful
here.
having all of you with us.
I guess be back at 1:30.
Yeah, I gotta be in.
Kind of like sharing the misery,
Yeah, they have the conduit. In fact, when I was through there, they had everything
How many
except
feet long? 35 foot
fire.
long and 17 wide.
the stuff, you know.
Uh-huh.
That's pretty, isn't it?
It's going to
I
be.
figured there had to be something they were going
But it
to
was
serve
pretty-
with.
Oh,
We shouldn't tease them
I'm
about
not
that.
teasing you.
Really.
Were you using an average on everything, or high? Or?
No, actually, when you guys came in, when we just talked about revenues, we took the revenues that you suggested that we take. So whatever it is what showed up in the green bar.
What
you
he
had
said,
you had everything.
low, average, and you had three there, low, average, and high.
What, on
And
the
I thought
jail,
we took the average.
on the jail,
Look
Pasco, what'd you take? What were you figuring?
I'll have to wait for Tom and then to get
Well, I hope you don't give us the same story. If I started here, I get the same story. I don't know. We'll have to wait till Fred gets here. I don't know. How
Get his slam on.
You know what, Richard, I'll just tell you.
I'm just kidding you, Fred.
But unless we talked, as I remember it, unless we
That's
talked
what I
to the
thought.
department, we took the average, Fred.
Well, we did. We took the average unless we talked to the department head. And then I think when you came in, you actually cut the revenues even more than what was even on the average. So we basically penciled each one of those in on my old green bar, which I threw away because I get mountains of this stuff. So.
You'll almost give heart failure here if you come up with $300,000 revenue. That you can't stand the
I
pressure.
already said once today I didn't want you to kick the bucket.
That's right.
I said
Maybe for
fine,
real.
because I'm feeling like I want to kick the bucket too. So, but maybe you weren't trying to save me. You know?
I don't know yet, Fred.
Depends on your attitude. We got Connie and Tom that show up here yet.
See, I'm looking at Tom's notes here. He's got your home monitoring at 29.
Well, I'm talking about the 1,200,000 and some thousand there for Pasco. It's on that same sheet.
Mr. Westerman.
I don't know. We have to ask.
Questionable distance in the back there. I'm not sure. If
How much do you have us down for revenue from the city of Pasco? When you were figuring revenue?
$1,200,000. That's the average revenue.
You want to change that to 1,377,000.
we had 1,200,000 even.
1,200,000 even. Now is that just for the room and board?
Huh?
That's just for the room and board.
That's just where you start, and then
1,377,000.
well, that's just going to come more than that. But we were just doing some figuring because we got, we're down to only a month to go, and
Did you see those pictures?
so that would be what they
Are
would
those
do
new
next
ones
year.
or the ones?
Of course, part of this is based on the size of the budget too, but then looking at it, it appears that on the reconciliation they'll owe us $168,000.
By the end of this year.
Well, they'll pay us in 2005, but the reconciliation for 2004 looks like will be $168,000
That we will receive in 205.
that they pay us.
And that would be, like we reconcile what, by the 1st of February or 1st of
Well, we reconcile. They have to pay us by March 31st.
March 31st. So 90 days after.
But there is going to be a little bit of a going contention with the city of Pasco on both of these figures, because the contract reads that they don't pay less than the average of 106 prisoners per day, which is it's a lot more than this amount. But then we had some language that got in there a long time ago that stays in that contract when we talk about the formula that we use to charge them for the coming year, the estimated formula. And in that formula, there's in parentheses not to exceed $50 per day. But that's only for projecting your costs for that coming year. It's not the reconciliation. So when you look, the actual cost turnout is going to be $57 per day for 2004, and they've paid us $50 per day on the projected deal.
But we've agreed on the formula to arrive at
Right,
that.
and then they even got that spelled out that we've agreed to not charge them more than if the average was 106 per day, which is about $65 a day. I know they're going to say, wait a minute, we're not supposed to pay more than 50, but that's, I already read the contract, I just read it for me down here. That's for estimating it. But, so we should be able to get $168,000 for 2004. The only contention is going to be, we haven't signed the contract yet, is they still got that same language
far as estimating for 2005. And we need to get that taken out of there because it needs to be actual. I mean, because we're just coming out of a year where it's costing them the cost is $57 a day, so that's going to be paying us for 2005. And we haven't signed that, I don't think, yet, the contract. So we need to argue that's not appropriate to have that language in that contract. And but so if we can get that passed through, from our standpoint, that's the way it should be, because we're not cheating them. We're just trying to collect our actual costs.
Just get our actual costs. That's all we agreed to, and we agreed to that a long time ago.
Yeah. And the chief kept putting that in there because he was kept getting a lot of heat from the city council when we first got this new type of contract that they were going to somehow get stuck by the county on this deal, and so he said to calm their fears. The years he's put that $50 figure in there because that seemed to pacify him. But that's no longer the case. I mean, we've surpassed that, and $50 8 years ago is a lot different than $57 today. I mean, that's so, but that's where our actual costs are coming out now. Obviously,
I think excuse me for interrupting, but I think we come to an agreement of having a figure to count as the rent, so to speak.
Right, and then
at the end of the year, it'd be reconciled. Right. It could go the other way. We would have owed them money.
And see, it's worked out great for everybody involved because it's always been below $50 a day, and so having that language never bothered us before. But now that the costs have reached, with the daily population and the costs of that jail, the costs have reached $57 a day. So it hurts us to have that as part of the estimated formula. And obviously, if something changes during 2005, then we would owe them some money in 2006. But if you take what their prisoner days they have this year, and if that holds true, which usually doesn't change very much for the coming year, I mean, their costs should be $1,377,000.
Well, and that should go up with the population change.
But if nothing, just say nothing were changed in the contract, and we made the estimate based on the same system, we would still get, at the adjustment time, we would still get the difference. Is that correct?
Right, you get the difference.
What we're losing then is utilization of this money during that period of time.
Well, yeah, and you're talking $177,000. The 2005 estimated formula cost is $177,000 in revenue.
Oh, yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, yeah, you're going to get the money someday, but
we're going to get it.
But you need it now.
Absolutely, but we would have that money to utilize right now. Is what I'm saying.
Yeah, I mean, what I'm saying is we should bill them $168,000 due by March 31st of 2005 for underpayments in 2004, and we should be collecting an additional $177,000 for estimated costs for 2005. So you put those together, that's $350,000.
$345,000.
Oh well, pretty close. Yeah, that's right.
Well, that makes what a difference.
But then that's also based on, a budget. That's also based on It's also based on the cost of that budget.
Well, 177, you say, could be adjusted back, certainly.
Well, because that formula is based on the corrections budget, so you've already cut some. You asked us to cut some more, so with that, these figures, the 177,000 addition to 2005, I just quickly figured that out based on what we had given to the city as our projected costs for 2005, which included the person that you cut out of work release and the additional cuts we took, so that would scale that back some.
What you're saying, however, though, is 168,000 wouldn't be scaled back. Period. 170.
That's based on this year's.
But the 177,000 could be scaled back to what?
I didn't have time
Well, whatever the bottom line of that 2005 corrections budget is, corrections and kitchen budget goes into the formula, and so.
Okay.
But obviously, this is based on where we were at.
Yeah. No, I
3 months
understand
ago,
what you're
4
saying,
months
Rick.
ago.
I'm just looking at a rough figure, but say not less than 150 probably.
Probably not.
Yeah. Well, we can accept good news.
Well, Sue said she had a headache. I was trying to help her headache. That's the only good news I got for today.
Well, that's.
But we need to make sure that jail contract comes over here directly to you folks, and I'm going to have Rick or myself get a hold of Pascal, see that, and tell them that that's not going to be acceptable. That estimated language, they're going to have to take that out for this year.
Yes. That's only fair. It's only fair.
Yeah, we're not trying to be unfair. We're just trying to be fair as well.
Absolutely. They shouldn't object to that.
They won't argue that. You know, you can't argue fair.
No.
If you want to argue fair, then you're just wasting everybody's time.
Right.
I think that.
So where are we?
Well, we were looking at a negative, and now we're looking at a plus, as I said.
Well, I don't know about that, because we did the cuts you asked for in the jail, but you know we have to shut down the work release program, which loses you $200,000 and some in revenue. When I sent the stuff back on Friday, I assume that's what you want to talk about today.
Now, the reason we adjusted on the work release program is, as I recall, our rationale was that it wasn't generating the funding that we felt it needed to for the position. Was that correct?
I wasn't part of that conversation.
No, but I mean, what I'm asking you, though, the funding that it did generate.
Well, that's a call that you guys have to make, I guess. But
for the last
where
year.
we're at, yeah, well, we'd gotten it up, and we were projecting, I think, $210,000 in revenue from work release and home monitoring. But as you recall, when you gave us that additional person last year, was the fact that we wouldn't be able to have federal work release prisoners unless we had 2 people working in that work release. And that was a new position here. So when the budgets were given back to us to make some additional cuts, you'd already cut that position out of the budget. So that puts the work release in jeopardy. And then you'd ask for an additional $83,000 cut. Well, then that involved cutting another employee. And so that's we lost the work release person, then we lost another person from the jail, and we're in a position where we got these different courtrooms now because of the remodel. We're stretched too thin. We can't even, by losing 2 people, we can't keep the work release going. And the rest, we'd have to pull that one person, and it's left the work release back to the floor part of the jail because of the additional strains on manpower because of the court situation. And so then that loses all the $210,000 in home monitoring and work release revenue. Of course, you gain $30,000, and you're not going to be spending money for home monitoring equipment. But
How much did we take in on that this last year, Rich? The home monitoring.
I don't know.
Tom, do you have any figures on that? On the home monitoring?
Remember, we were building it up. We didn't do as because we lost the feds. It took us 3 months to get them back in here, and so I don't know.
We're back up to that 5 people, and the federals back in finally. It took us
For the 3 categories, the way I added up, we brought in $98,000.
Yeah. And then in the last, when we were down here a couple
But
months ago, we were
but
running $10,000 a month.
Our shortfall, though, what was projected
Right.
in 2003 for 2004 is $672,000.
Well, that was with
And we
we were
only
going to
got
have
98.
6 or 7 employees, and we were going to run the new facility, which never transpired. But But the last few months, I think Gary had got that work release up to $10,000 a month, just from the feds, which is $120,000 a year in revenue. But so we're in a bind here. We can't.
Doesn't show that though, Rich. Do you have a copy? Is there an extra copy?
I don't have
Show,
current revenue.
Tom, look at 2005 budget for work released BOP. I think it was something like we held it all the way back at $77,000.
Maybe it was 10,000. I don't remember what it.
See, we got budgeted for the federal prisoners lodging BOP. We have budgeted.
What should say work release?
As a federal one, we budgeted $77,000.
$77,000. That's work release. Federals only for the year. And that's a conservative figure.
But you've only brought in.
That's fine. That's just you just need to be aware that that's gone.
But
There's
the regular-
210,000 that's gone because we can't do it. With
The regular work
well, that's gone too. We can't function with what we've got to do. So.
Well, gosh, you used to bring it in, Richard.
What I'm saying is we can't run the program because we don't have the personnel to do it. That's what I'm saying. And you take the home monitoring lines and the work release lines, it's $210,000 that you have in revenue that you have to wipe off the books. If we don't have those two positions, the one that you guys cut and the one that I cut.
What are you saying it will cost to generate that money that's coming in?
It cost $30,000. I cut $30,000 off the expense line for the rental of equipment, and then so that's $30,000, and then 2 correction officers positions. So it's
What are they paid with benefits?
Correctional officer? The two that we cut with 42,000 something and 43,000.
With benefits?
That's benefits and all.
43, so you're talking about 84,000. So basically, that doesn't.
And 30,000
plus 30,000 for the home
Well, I got
monitoring
that.
equipment that we won't be
Okay, so it'll be 114,000.
So you cut 114 to lose 210. That's not good business. That just doesn't work. So you're down $96,000.
Yeah.
$96,000 is basically about 3 positions.
Yeah.
Now you can.
This is just getting more confusing by the moment.
Well, it is, but the reason we went to that line item, because of what it had generated in the past. We all discussed it, said if it's not generating money, we can't afford to have it, regardless of what we're looking at down the road.
We generated a lot of money out of the feds for X amount of years, and they came in and gave us stipulations. That was that we had to start having better coverage of the work release. That's when finally they actually dropped us. We were off 3 months last year. It took us 3-4 months this year just to get our feet back under the feds. That's because we added that second person to work release. The minute we cut them out, federal's gone. And our chances of getting them back this time will probably be nixed because Benton County's over there getting ready to start one of these days with their program, and they're all going to move right over there.
But that line item, you only budgeted $55,000 for.
Should be 77,000.
Well, this year, but for 2004, you only budgeted 55 as an income.
Right. Well, we did that because we only had out of the federal. We didn't get them even started until.
But the other work release, you budgeted $617,000.
That's if we had been in the other building with 7 employees and running a full-blown deal. It didn't come together. We didn't get the staffing for it, and so there was no anything.
How much would that have generated with 7 employees?
Well, that's what we estimated was $600,000.
Okay.
So, with those two positions backing in the budget, then that's $30,000 for rental of equipment, and then $84,000 for the employees. So, anything, and we're saying that we think we can bring $210,000 in revenue if we bring in $125,000 of revenue, that's a shortfall, but we're generating more than we're spending.
Yeah, you are. And the problem is that, if we estimate the 210.
Oh, I know. I'm just saying. We think we can do the 210, but I'm saying, even if we fell short, because if you cut those two positions out, you're not going to get any money. I mean, you're going to be at zero.
Well, I hear what you're saying. If we could put the two positions back in and profit $96,000, then that basically is quite a savings. You don't. We had this discussion earlier today. You don't cut out your moneymakers. You just don't do it.
We're not interested in doing that. Well, we're looking now at a minimum of about $318,000 more than we were anticipating, based on adjustment with the city.
But you lost 200.
But in addition, we're talking about another $210,000, which will take us about $114,000.
Yeah, you gained about You gained $101,000 if you keep the cuts where they are, with the additional 345 or 314 or whatever it is that we come up with. You're still over $100,000.
About 96, but that's about 96,000 to do that. I think that's something we certainly need to look at here, even if the figures are high. It's something we need to look at.
Well, I think I think we were trying to be as conservative as possible, and I think I don't have just the 10,000 off the top of my head. I thought that's where we're at, but wherever we were at, I remember you've asked the question over here before about what you're saying isn't your track record for the last 8 months, whatever it was, but which was true. But like Rick was saying, there was about a 3 or 4 month period we hassled through the red tape of the federal bureaucracy to get federal work release back in here. But then when we were in here in September, whenever it was, we had a 3 or 4 month track record where we were on a pace to bring this revenue in.
But you take that money, it's an extra $100,000 generated back over the county. That would go back to each department on a pro rata basis.
Yeah, but the problem
as far as the budget.
Well, I started looking at it that way too, but that $210,000 was counted as revenues to go towards the $499,000 shortfall. So you can't really add that $96,000 back in.
Well, you take away from what they're going to have to cut. You take away from their cut because it's going to.
Oh, you know what? You go back. Let's just say we just don't pay attention to what anybody has sent us at this point. Plug in that $345,000 or whatever that is, and then take another good look at it.
Yeah, I think we need to look at that. No matter what we do, we need to look at it because that's going to go back and affect the percentage of what each department affects, or how each department is affected. Because if an department's having to cut 3% and they only have to cut 3.1, they're 3%. That's.
Well, that $345,000 would go a long way towards that shortfall.
You're not kidding.
Which would definitely bring those percentages down. But the problem is that we were at $500,000 after some of those cuts were already made. All those new employees that were taken, they were before we came down with this $500,000 in the hole. So you'd have to add back everything that you cut, just personnel-wise. Add the personnel back, put the 345 in it, and take another look at it.
Yes, and I think that's what we should do.
Well, we have to.
Just the work release personnel, right?
Well, I don't know.
I think we have to do that. I think there's.
The other thing I wanted to ask about was I don't know if this was your intention, but it happened was that you cut out 50% of the overtime in the dispatch budget.
We weren't supposed to touch this.
And so I reflected, there's a reflection, you lost of $30,000 in revenue.
That was, on the dispatch, we shouldn't have taken it out. Because
that was supposed to be touched on dispatch.
No, we weren't going to do that on dispatch and jail.
Yes, you did. And
we shouldn't have on that.
We need to plug that back in.
The other thing you look at, you can't use the revenue figure that I gave you because I terminated one senior dispatcher, another one quit with work for City of Pasco, so you already went in and plugged in trainee wages for that budget, which has dropped it down. Talking with Hogan, we're going to spend close to $50,000 in overtime this year, and I had $30,000, but you cut the salaries back. I've got 2 new employees that are going to be coming on board. I got another one that's having some medical problems. So I anticipate spending $50,000 in overtime next year. I've got $15,000, and
We weren't supposed to touch this.
Well, look, it doesn't look on my sheet, it says correction
So whatever
food is
happened, we didn't
fixed and
intentionally.
it says that too. But when I got the budget printout, it was. I with the salaries that we were running, and just status quo, even leaving overtime at $30,000, we had a budget of $736,000 for dispatch for 2005, and that would generate $514,000 or $516,000 in revenue. But you backed out those salaries and cut overtime. You took the L&I, which is not that much, but everything you take out of that budget, hurts us on our collecting from our customers. So that drops that revenue down to $30,000 less than what it was set at.
Yeah, we weren't supposed to touch it, so I don't know what.
But even on the, and I know you got this bigger picture to look at, and I know for whatever reasons you took that unemployment out of each budget. But when you take that out of the jail and you take that out of the dispatch, that hurts our revenue side of it, because we take all costs. And so I know you set that aside somewhere else, and we never aren't the ones that pull it out, but you really should consider plugging those figures back into the jail and the dispatch budget, so we can use that as a
yeah,
I think we were on when they became actual. It was my understanding we were going to put them back in the various budgets.
But we put it under one figure to begin with.
Right.
Okay, as long as you do that, but I mean, you don't want to be pulling. I mean, you maybe need to keep track of it on paper over here, but you need to have that stuff in there so that
we identified it in one figure. We did it on relationship to the number of estimated employees, as opposed to individual budgets.
because we're self-employed on unemployment.
But whatever you think the liability on those particular budgets should be,
we've considered this issue, which you're speaking of, on the thing, and no overtime was supposed to be taken off dispatch, and we didn't take any out of corrections.
It didn't reflect any, it was status quo.
It says 689,
Overtime was
626.
60,000.
60,000 is what our status quo was.
Yeah.
But you also took it out. You took it out of law enforcement. I mean, but there's no way we can operate on $15,000 or $29,000 for law enforcement overtime. You cut that in half.
We did. Every other budget, Rich.
But I mean, I can't. There's no way to control that. I mean, you got $13,000.
Well,
$13,000 of that is from overtime we do for BLM, and we do these grants. So.
Yeah, you know what, I'm sorry. We show sheriff's dispatch here, NA.
I know.
But it's already been, if that's net of the half of overtime.
That's what I thought. I just accidentally, I didn't even look at it, but it was on my printout, and I looked at it and saw, well, wait a minute, it says not applicable, but then you've already cut it.
Oh, the only ones that didn't cut were that.
We need to go back and straighten this all back out.
Yeah, because we're chasing our tail on this thing right now.
Now we are, yeah.
Because we've got these extra figures, we need to go back and look at them and work with them. And do we need to notify the press tomorrow, just continue this meeting, Eva?
I think.
So we can come back at 1:30 tomorrow?
I think Board of Equalization is in this room.
Pardon?
Board of Equalization's here.
Well, they may have to move.
Well,
There's no place for them to move from. This is the only, and that's mandated by law.
How
many's in it?
Well, it's the 3 board members and then the people come before. And the people that come before and the.
How long will that last?
I don't know, ask Steve.
Pardon? Will they come in the morning?
Well, if we go back to where we were.
Good.
But if we
Good.
use the decreases, we're taking this.
Because we need to meet tomorrow.
That's why I think we should put the work release
The
person
only
back
way to
in.
meet in the morning is to continue to these.
Because it's too late to.
Okay, well,
24 hours.
well,
So what's the plan?
We'll continue the budget workshops.
Tomorrow.
For here?
when we're done.
For here?
Yeah.
1:30.
Oh, 1:30 I will.
Yeah.
So what are you gonna do with Board of Equalization?
He's
checking to see what he can do.
So if we plug everything back in the way it was, add the revenues, I mean, before we...
I mean, these are for budgets where other entities are paying in their percentage of the budget. Is that right? What we're
No, I
talking
think
about?
what we're talking about is going back to before you start making any
Any
cuts.
cuts.
Oh, okay.
Show where our shortfall is
And
before
plug
we
Okay.
make any cuts.
Plug this revenue back in and go from there.
Basically start from scratch again.
We're
at
going to
this
add
particular
the
point.
3 positions back, or just the one?
Pardon?
Are we going to add the 3 positions back in, every figure, or just the work release position?
Well,
We made our cuts after.
What we're
the
saying is
So we're going to start at the 499 negative.
Are you talking about
You
just the
would-
jail
You
budget?
would have to add back in order to get the 210, we'd have to add back in that dispatch position, or
No, I mean,
or home
work
monitoring,
release.
work release,
And
plus
the other-
another one.
well, the other one that we cut.
We'd
We only
have to
cut
add-
one.
Cut two.
You
We'd
cut
have to
two,
add
and
in-
you cut one.
No, I cut one and you guys cut
We'd
one.
have to
only
add
one
in
other.
$84,000
Plus the 30,000.
plus the 30,000, right? So we have to add in 113, 113,
We'd have to add those.
$114,000.
So they have to add those positions back because.
Well, you add the 114 back, you're going to pick up the 210. You add Mike's position back, you're going to pick up 78. Because I mean, you don't cut $35,000 to lose 78,000. You know, I mean, how do you work it out?
Well, I think we need to go back and look at them again on this and come back.
Yeah.
But we need to add those back in.
Well, we're talking about our new positions for the 2004 budget, right?
Yes.
No.
Well,
the
the ones that
2004, we cut one of the
We cut 3
work release
positions.
people.
We cut 3 positions out of the 2004 budget. They were all the new positions.
Right.
One out of probation, one out of recording, and the other was in home monitoring.
Right.
Those are 3 positions we cut.
So, yes, but I would suggest that you put, well, maybe we ought to look at it 2 different ways. You cut that, if you cut the work release, you picked up 100,000.
Well, why don't we just add the 3 positions back in and look at it? That'll make it simple. That'll make it simple. We'll go from there.
Do you want us to come back tomorrow, or are you done with us?
Bring us back another 200,000 when you come.
Well, I think the.
Anytime you come bring
That's
gifts.
why we're in trouble this year. Is we're estimating more revenue than I.
Well, if they've got a track record showing that they're bringing in this much money right now, why would we want to cut that if they're on their
No,
way?
I think we're on the right path. I appreciate your coming in with us.
Oh, absolutely.
I won't be back tomorrow with another $200,000.
No, but we're going to be back here tomorrow at 1:30. So if you guys want to come back, can you have this ready for us tomorrow, Don? Okay. Why don't you come on back tomorrow and we'll talk about it again.
All right.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thanks for coming in, and thanks for bringing a change on your budget. We appreciate it. If you don't come bearing alms, please don't come.
Did you hear that? Rooms available at 1:30.
Good.
Yeah, we need to
And you said 50,000 instead of 30. You said you needed 50,000 because of all the changes. What he said.
Yeah, that's what he
Well,
said.
you're
right?
adding back what's left in dispatch.
There's 15, but if we bring it up to 30, it's still another plus 20,000.
What was in the budget initially? We never
30.
got anything out of it.
Yeah, and the thing about dispatch is that the
It gets
majority of that,
refunded.
the majority of that comes from other agencies.
This is right. That would be.
Are you going to look at his
Town
overtime
wise,
as a sheriff?
No, we didn't go there.
Penny wise and pound foolish.
We were only looking at the corrections overtime and the dispatches overtime, not the other.
Why aren't we looking at corrections?
Well, we are because that budget is reimbursed by all those other people too. And we didn't take corrections overtime out to begin with. We left it in there.
Yeah, we left it in there.
So and this is where we got this money here, this 345 or 318 pretty much out of corrections.
Okay, good. Now that we're real confused.
Well, you are, because you toss around so many figures here, and You need to see them all in the proper
Well,
context.
what we cut out of corrections was $17,700
Total?
total.
No, we cut more than that.
Half of overtime.
You're looking at this, but when we went back in that 3.5, we cut a lot more out of corrections than that. We cut a lot more out of corrections than that. Corrections took a big cut. This is what we cut the first time we went through it. Go back and look on the cut sheet. Tom has it.
Corrections took 80,000.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
It took an $80,000 hit.
Yeah.
80 and a half, actually. Does that include the 17,700?
That was extra.
I don't know what
No, we took the 17.7 off the first time through. Then we came back with a 3.5. That's where you got the 80,000.
Yeah.
That's
Okay.
right. They
Yeah,
were hit
because then it
twice.
would have been 97,000.
That's right.
Looks like we've taken 223,910 off the 499,000 deficit. That's with 345,000 in new revenues, and subtract out 121,000, or I should say, add 121,000 with expenditures.
So you added the expenditures in and then took off the deficit, and we picked up 223,000, is what you're saying?
We should have more than that, Tom.
Well, you had to add back in those costs, though.
Well, yeah, but the cost off of home monitoring, we say we made $96,000 based on his projections. We made $96,000 on that, and then we had the $168,000 and the $150. So you look at 96 on top of that.
I don't think so.
Yeah.
No.
This, we're looking at two different items here. The 168 is what they will get when they settle up based on the figures that we have now in the actual cost.
Right.
The 177, he said, well, probably not less than 150 would be based on what we'd get for 205.
Right.
If you add those together, that's about 315.
Right.
Then you add the 96 on top of that. Why not? Because that's a separate issue.
No, because
It is, that's home monitoring.
I know, but the 210 was already calculated in the $400 or the $500,000 shortfall. So
We're just talking about changes in revenue, Fred. Just changes in
Well,
revenue.
you wouldn't add back the 96,000. Basically, what you would do is you'd have the 345,000 is the changes in revenues. You'd add everything back up, and then you'd start your subtraction.
Oh, you have that much, you'd have the 345, but that 345 does not address the home monitoring. This is just direct with corrections.
Work release.
Yeah, just corrections.
I know, but you can't. If you were going to go the way you're going, you would take the 500,000 that were out. You would
No,
add the 200.
I'm not even talking about the 500,000. That has no bearing on it. I'm talking about the other revenue that we got. Would be the 168 on corrections for the adjustment for 204, the 177 for 205. Then you come around and look at home monitoring, and he said 210. If it's 114 to run, that's going to give you 96 push on top of that.
I think I know what you're talking
That
about.
96 has to be on top of those two figures.
But are we actually going to get that other money in 205?
On the
In
home monitoring?
2005? No, I mean from the city.
Oh,
This is-
Well,
yeah,
see, we won't get that next year.
Yeah, we will. This is right.
They do that every year. We catch up every year.
We catch up every year, and
Even if we didn't get that, it would be money projected that we would get, would bring back for money for 205. So that money basically would be locked in.
Well, let me ask you a question. He said that we'd lose $210,000, right?
This is correct.
Okay.
That has nothing to do with this.
I think what you're saying is right, but he only budgeted $77,000.
What he said today, though, was 210,000 gross, and it would take about 114 to run the program. So there's 96,000 between it, and if that's 96,000, that's another revenue. On top of that.
I think I know what you're saying now, and I agree with what you're saying. But he budgeted here 77,000. Now he's saying he's going to get 210.
Well, yeah, but he's got 61 he's got three figures that add up to 210. He's got 61,000 for boardroom work release, 77 for boardroom federal, and 72 for work release inmate contribution. So you add those three figures up and it comes to $210. And that's all work release.
This is right, and this is what he was talking about today. And he said
Now,
it's
his
114
home monitoring, I don't even see it.
So based on those figures, then that would make our revenue situation,
Neva, it's up on top.
I don't know where
We
you
only
pick up
put
the other $96,000 though.
as
I
well.
just don't.
We didn't put it in there.
I don't understand where you picked that up. I could understand the 345, but not the additional 96.
well, the 96 has nothing to do with the city. This,
I'm not talking about
the
the city.
345, the 345 is out of corrections, Fred.
Right.
The home monitoring is not out of corrections. That would be separate from corrections. Yeah, it would.
No, it's still correct.
Why not? It's, your home monitoring would still be separate from corrections. And there would be 210,000.
No, it's all inside the correction budget.
Yeah.
This is, I don't argue that. But it would be separate. We're talking about the incarceration money from the city.
Right.
It could still be in the budget. But then the home monitoring, even though it's in the correction budget, would be 210,000 that would come in from the home monitor, is what I understood him to say today.
No, that's work release. You're getting, home monitoring is only 15,000.
And it's not even
Well,
in the average.
home monitoring and work release together, he said 210,000. But it's separate than the other.
Rick, I think if we add that one position back,
Because you had three different.
Yeah, we had
Yeah,
one.
and they're all work release, and this is home monitoring.
But they total 210,000.
499 only had one out
These
of
three
it.
total.
Okay, they hold.
And then this is 15 up here for home
Okay,
monitoring.
I was talking about the 210,000 that
Then we
he
had the new
spoke of.
So they need
But
a new one in 2005.
You know, he said he was gearing up on home monitoring, and it's 93,000 that, and he brought in 535, and I couldn't find those figures.
That's where I came up with the $84,000 plus the 30, which adds up to the 114.
I didn't understand he wanted another person.
Huh?
I didn't understand he wanted another employee.
Well, he cut an employee besides the home
That's what I didn't
monitoring.
But that's still, it was in that 499. It wasn't cut
Well,
in
yeah, it
that
wasn't cut from
499
there though.
though.
It was just cut from his figures here.
We better have him back today. Why don't we call him again? Mary, call him again.
Okay, let's, you know what, let me explain it the way I hear it, and let's just see how
Well,
far
put
off
it up
I
on
am.
the
okay?
blackboard.
Well, I've got it written right here.
Well,
The person that we cut, that's one, that's $42,000.
okay.
Okay, now he wants to add back the other person that he cut, which is another $42,000. So that's $84,000. So
We had
the one that was
30,000 to run it.
30,000 to run it. That's 114,000.
That's correct.
And with the $114,000 investment, he says he can bring back 210.
That's what I heard him say that.
But if we're working out the 499 deficit, if we add that new one back,
That's why we're in
the
this
two
mess
people are
we're
in
in
there.
right now. It's because he said
We
he's
have to
bringing.
add that back because that's going to increase that deficit by 114,000.
But Dewey cut his position. He cut his position. We cut
17,000.
I know. He said he was going to bring 93,000 in home monitoring, brought 535 too. See, I don't know.
What did you guys hear?
Same
thing.
I heard exactly
Same
that's
thing.
what I heard.
You heard what?
No.
The way Fred said it.
That's
what I
heard.
Yes, I heard the
I
same
quit
thing.
at 114.
We're
all agreed.
We're all agreeing that. The only thing that I'm disagreeing is that 96,000 is aside and separate from the money that comes in from the city. Everything I agree with. That money is aside and separate
I know,
from the
that's what I'm
100
trying
or
to say.
345 that comes from the city.
You're absolutely correct. You're absolutely correct. That has got nothing to do with the 345 that's coming in from the city.
That's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying. That's a separate revenue.
All I'm saying, though, is that 96 that you're talking about is already plugged into the 210.
It is, yeah.
It's just
Yeah.
It is, absolutely.
It's in that.
And I said, that would give us another 96 net revenue based on his figures,
I think you're wrong, Fred.
based on 114,000.
I could be. You know what?
Unless he's creating a new brand new
Unless he's
position,
creating a brand new
2005.
position, it's already in there. Before the,
Yeah.
right there, see? So he's bringing in the revenue, we add back that one person we cut,
Nice.
and that's it.
How much? I'll bet you a Coke.
Oh,
Gambling in the courthouse.
I'll bet you that he wants to add back the one person that we
And
cut
add another
and
one?
add
Oh,
another.
no. Really?
That's what he said. That's what he said.
I
That's
missed
right,
that.
the one
You know
person
what, I
we
like-
cut and
I like
another
the
person
big
for
crush.
$84,000,
$30,000
$30,000 on the program, 114,000. That's exactly as I heard
Just
it.
tell him no.
And you take,
I guess like my question is, who can you get with benefits for 40 grand a year?
42.
don't complicate our discussion here.
Because he said it included.
So you're talking about brand
Corrections
new.
officers.
But assuming the figures are
We can move
accurate on this,
one of his higher positions.
Okay, well, that's
Probably. No, you'd be surprised. No.
Yeah, that'd be pretty tough for 42. I think you're right.
The one we cut was 44 with benefits.
Was
Yeah,
it? Okay.
uh-huh.
Well,
44 with benefits?
Yeah.
Did he bring you any sheets with numbers, or is it just?
oh, we don't do it that way here.
That's what I would say.
We try, but we don't.
go with that.
That's why this is math confusion.
I would have never argued with you. But then, but the 96 was revenue on top of that. That was net revenue based out of that.
That's right.
That's,
Minus your expenditures, the revenue
Yeah.
minus your stuff.
that's what I've been trying to say here. and I don't want to.
Are you looking at sheriff?
You're right. Stop, say that loud. Say that. So then, with that, and that's what.
96,000
Yes,
profit over and above the cost of the
That's
program.
right, that's exactly what I said. I never make a teacher if I'm not doing a better job arguing than that. 16, 25.
Yeah.
That is $454,000 of additional revenue. Add those together.
That is right. However, where I think maybe we're getting a little bit confused here is that you're right. You would add that. What you're saying is absolutely right. So I don't want to confuse
But
it
you're
any,
wrong.
any further than that. Because you're right. You're just right. You're right.
Now, is this 345 a firm figure?
Sounds like it.
No, it's not, because he said, based on the budgets that he will have to take things out of because of the cuts. I said, well, would it be any more than 150? And he said, no. So you add the 150 and 168, and that comes up to about 315.
However, it would stay at the 177 because you're not making the cuts.
Well, right now it would, you're correct, yeah. But based on, if we had made cuts.
Well, it would be more than 84,000 if you say he's wanting another person. That's 3 positions, not 2.
One we cut plus one more.
Yeah. We just cut one. He wanted to cut one and add one.
He cut the one, right?
Right.
He cut one.
Right.
Okay. We put back the one.
Right.
He puts back the one he cut. That's
right.
only 2, right?
That's what we're talking about.
Well, then
he
he
doesn't
said
have
he
any
wanted
cuts.
another one.
So then he just.
I'm just saying 2 people.
We're talking about
84,000.
84,000.
2 people. You still owe me the Coke, okay?
No. You said he was
Yeah, I bet too.
All right. We'll see how this
I bet
works.
we did. The double.
Yeah, because I thought you said you want another person.
New in 2005.
Yeah, that's
Just
what
like
you
with
told
the
me.
new in 2004.
Yeah, that's what you said. Is that what you meant?
No,
Two
no.
people.
What I meant
Two
was he
people.
needs to have 2 people back.
Oh, well then we agree with that. I knew that.
Yeah,
We were talking about out of our figure, we had only cut
Yeah,
one.
we would only cut
Next
one.
time we make a bet, I want it in writing.
That means we only have to add the position
We
created
only
this
add the
year.
position created this year. That's all we have to add back in.
he was looking to generate the
Well,
210.
see, you were arguing with me about that.
I don't argue with anybody.
Yes, you were. Yes, you were.
I don't even know where we are. I'm all confused now.
See, he's not wanting to add another position, he says that.
Just the one
He's
cut.
putting the two back that
He's just putting the two back that he taken out.
which is pretty good work if you can do
So
it.
that puts our deficit at 275, 442.
Well, it's
But
better
that's
than
without-
499.
But that's without.
But what makes us think he's going to bring the revenue in?
What assurance do we have?
Well, this
You
revenue,
know what,
here,
how do
this
you put down
revenue
the
should be
figures?
locked in. That
Well,
revenue
maybe
should be
not.
locked
Money doesn't come
in.
in.
The only thing we're looking at that would be a variable would be on that 96.
Yeah, that's,
Is that adding back
Yeah.
all those three
On that
figures or
210,
not?
yeah.
yeah, that's
Three
right.
people.
That's the only variable among bucks.
Because that 345 is pretty much.
Oh, I think by the first quarter, whoever's chairman better be looking at the finance committee, and if the first quarter he hasn't brought any money in, I
Who's
think,
the chairman next year?
well, we don't know. We haven't voted yet.
Mr. Cook. Good way to break in.
No, that'd be very
That
unfair.
would be cruel.
Hey, you know what? There's nothing. If you want to learn how to swim, you throw them in the
Feet
water.
to the fire.
I
But
think that'd be- I think that'd
some
be a
people
fair
drown
way to
when
go.
you do that. That's not safe.
Bob, tell me I don't know how to swim.
Yeah, we discussed that. We were going to talk to you about that.
If things
Swimming
go
lessons?
like they
Swimming lessons?
No, about, we normally vote in December for the new chairs, and so I said,
And committee assignments.
and
Well,
and
that
I
won't
said,
change anything. You know what? You probably do anyway. It's not like
but I think we should confirm it, Mom. But I know he
Doesn't matter
doesn't.
to me. Wait till January.
We don't want to
I
start
don't
Bob
need to
off the
vote
wrong
on
track by
everything.
conferring with you. But anyhow, we had discussed sitting down and looking at those committee assignments, Bob, and we'll do that sometime here, early next month, so we can.
That's next week.
Yeah.
I don't say till after we balance the budget.
I will be out of town all next week.
Watching Bob. Watching, I'm trying to get all
So if you guys want to work on
Beware.
budgets, I won't be
Yeah.
here. It's the only reason I'm bringing that up.
Well, what are you doing Thanksgiving afternoon?
What's the only reason, Fred?
Huh?
What's the only reason you're bringing that up?
'Cause I won't. Well, if you want to work on budgets, I'm not going to be here all next week.
All next week?
Yeah, all next week.
I asked him what he's doing Thanksgiving afternoon.
That's right. You'll be too full to move fast, so you could just,
See how dedicated he is.
yeah.
I'll be right over there by the airport, so why don't you stop by and pick me up on the way in?
Well, I think we need to get what we can out of the way.
Oh, yeah.
Right now.
Why don't we work on Wednesday?
That's fine with me. That's fine with me. We may want to do that. We'll come in tomorrow.
Yeah, it sounds like we might. Yeah.
We'll come back tomorrow, look at it, and maybe hit it Wednesday morning. I think this is something we need to get resolved as close as we can get it resolved as soon as possible.
Well, as confusing as it's getting, I think the more we take on one, keep hitting it one time right after another might be better for us. Keep your thoughts in order, like ours are right now.
Are you going to contact those people who didn't take anything out?
Okay, where are we now and what are we doing, Tom?
Well, right now I have our deficit at 275, 442. I would propose, I guess, to input all the numbers and then refigure the percentages because it's going to change this drastically what people have to cut. And probably just go through this process again.
And starting again at 1:30 tomorrow?
Sure.
Well, there you go.
Please join us up there. We want to ask you if we heard what we thought we heard.
I don't know what I said.
But you said you could balance the budget in your department, is that right?
I think that's what I said.
Okay, you want me to summarize what I thought I heard, since we got a bet on it?
Okay.
Okay. The 345 is pretty well understood, where that could possibly come in, and it would probably stay at the 177 edition as long as we don't cut your budget any further than where it was.
Right, with the prisoner day rate, the percentage difference in the number of prisoners that Pasco has. That
We understand the caveat.
For 2005, that would be additional 177,000 in revenue.
Okay. So we add back the person that we cut, we add back one more person, probably the person you cut,
Right.
or whatever,
Yeah, it's not
plus
addition-
$30,000 more.
Well, there's a line, isn't it, 30,000, that one line that I...
Well, I
Right.
didn't. I just wrote it down.
Seems
there.
that-
Just
I'm-
take it your figure, Rich.
I think that's what it was. But
So we put 84 into employees and $30,000 into your equipment, which will be a cost of approximately 114 to bring in 210.
But you already had the 200. You already had the 210,000. But I cut that out when I gave the budget back to you.
Yes, we
because-
understand that, but
Okay.
we're putting
Yeah,
it back.
but if we spend 114, we're going to bring back 210, which would be a $96,000 profit. On top of, well, yeah.
But you already had that money in your
Right,
previous
right.
figure.
We did, we understand that, but we're bringing it back in because it's another source of revenue.
So you should be up $200,000 just in that scenario there because.
Well, actually, you'd be up to 96,000.
Well, no,
Let's
because
just
yeah,
go
you-
to the expenditure
Well, I
side
mean,
of it.
basically, you
I see what you're saying. You take
we brought in an additional
114.
345,000,
Right.
but you're going to put back
114.
114, so you're up
Right.
$230,000.
Whatever the difference is between the 210
Yeah.
and the 114.
Well,
You're
I
right. You're
come
up
up-
that much.
I come up with benefits and that one salary of 46,754.
Well, they just said that the one that they cut was 44,000.
44,000 with benefits.
The Sheriff, there's a Coke on the line over here. So
There's what?
We need a final answer. Would you hire a new person in 2005
No.
for your work police or water?
No,
So it
we're,
would just be the
what
one
I'm
we
what I'm
need.
saying is you just give us
Back
you
what
give
you
us the
have.
same staffing level we had for 2004, and we'll run everything that we have going now. If I get cut anymore, that's what. If we cut back from our staffing level now, we can't do those programs. That's what we were saying. We don't need we don't need another person on top of that. We just need the person back that you guys cut and the person back that Rick cut when you asked for the cuts.
When we'd ask for the cuts.
I don't think so.
I think it's the same.
No.
We were the interpretation. I was saying the same thing you were saying, except you weren't listening to what I was saying.
I think you guys owe me a Coke for making me come back down and explain something that made crystal clear when I was here 20 minutes ago.
Didn't I just explain it back to you the way you explained it to us? I had a pretty good understanding.
Well, then
of it.
Tom owes me a Coke. I don't know.
Tom had nothing to do with it.
Oh, Connie does then.
Oh, you okay.
Rich, that's all I came back was to settle a debt.
You go out and buy
Don't say we never did anything for you.
Frank, Anything else I can help you with?
No. Thanks for coming back.
Thanks for coming back.
I probably wouldn't have been able to sleep tonight not knowing how this turned out. So.
Now you both can think you won because Frank paid your bet. So.
I don't mind paying that off, Rich.
I'm sure.
Okay.
Wait till you get back to the court.
And you can come back tomorrow, Tom, with the figures on this so we can look at.
How are we going to put that 30,000 back in? Was that money that he cut?
We hadn't touched it. It was something he
That wasn't cut. We sent the 3.5.
Okay, so we don't need to actually.
No, we don't have to worry about that 30.
We don't need that. We had
Yeah, so that made their difference.
So we're still at 275.
But we'll come back and look at some, and that will change the percentage overall to everybody else. Except the assessors probably, and we'll try to keep that the same. He doesn't like change. That's right.
Well, that 345,000 didn't hurt us a bit.
I wish this would have been figured out sooner. Why didn't we know that before?
Well, anyhow,
We've asked everybody to come back.
I'm glad we're where we are. Anyhow, after that, I'm not saying I'm glad we're where we are, but I'm happier to be here than where we were when we came in here this afternoon.
Well, you know, just a suggestion, if we can go back and take a look at all these cuts that the department's made without hitting people, maybe we ought to take a look at that and going against their deficit.
That's what I'd like to do.
I mean, there's departments that turn stuff in that they can make cuts and it's not affecting people. Why don't we just, Maybe
Let's-
I'm opening up a
let's-
can of worms.
Why don't we wait till Tom gets his figures and then come back and look at that tomorrow?
Sounds good.
That sound reasonable?
Because if we don't have to cut people, but I firm believer that if things don't change, we're gonna have to next year anyway.
Well, we probably will.
Well, we're gonna have to, we're not, we
get
haven't
that-
won out there yet.
If we get that 3/10, if that, well, the 3 counties that ran it, it passed. If it works, then we'll be good at least for another year. So Lyman comes back and gets
Mary, I'm gonna give this back to you, so we
They're
don't.
delightful.
We're recessed till tomorrow at what time?
1:30. 1:30 tomorrow.
Yes.
Ready for me?
Not really, because I'm not sure that I have the figures in my head.
No, just kind of want to talk to you about general overviews, how good they went. Well, it's what I gave you guys earlier this year about.
Oh.
I got all the numbers. Those are hard numbers. I don't have